Trust us out.
Welcome to Hash Church, everybody. Episode 24. Sitting here with Tony V.
What's up? What's up?
In Negril Jamaica. What a great place for a Hash Church, right? Telling ya.
Odd location where we're currently at, but it's great.
It's a
overall place.
It's a little bit of an odd location. I'm not gonna lie. We are on the top floor near the secretary door of the hotel we're staying at, and well, the internet's not so very good here. But, well, we're managing. We're getting it done.
It's intentional.
Sunday at 9 a.m. Look at that. We started just on time. It's 11. Back home, we just started. We've welcome to Hash Church, everybody. Yes. Episode 24. This is every week. Sitting here with Tony B. Every single fucking week. All right. All right. We got a bunch of people in the chat here. Brian Church, Franklin Ricardo, Indigro, Bulbous Black, Michael Boyack, Neil For Real, Richard Inman, Sebar. Hello to everyone. And I hope that you're all having a wonderful day. Yeah, we are live on Hash Church here. And someone wanted to know how many people are watching. Well, believe it or not, right now, we don't have any. There are no people watching Hash Church as we speak. However, we have gone live. And hopefully we'll be picking up some viewers here soon. I'd like to know that it's working. Let's see what happens.
Pressing out the 45.
You're pressing out the 45? Awesome. I wonder if they can hear us. Has it started? Yeah, I think we're live. I think we're live. I've just never had like such... Okay, we just got 130 people that came into the chat. I was going to say, that was like no people. It was 0. And now it's 138.
If there was 0 people, we could just go to the Stepping High and just continue our day. If there was absolutely no one watching Hash Church.
Right.
It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, well.
For everything we went through to get up on this little place.
Well, there's 170 people now, and it's definitely working. Good to see you guys. Franklin, Killer, BG's, Free Delisi. Free Delisi's in the house. What's up, Free? Why don't we get Rick in the house here? Let me see if I can't send Rick a quick message. Rick, how do I find you, buddy? There you are. Boom sham shaboomy. Come talk to us, brother. We're in Jamaica. We want to talk a little bit about the Stepping High Festival. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on here since we've been here. I wouldn't mind talking a little bit about the nutraceutical launch that both CRD and UCAN were a part of recently, along with Sunspice Seasonings and just a whole bunch of other things. In fact, that reminds me, I should send an invitation to Maurice, Sunspice Seasoning. Hello.
Good morning, my friends.
How are you doing there, Johnny B?
I'm always very well when I'm about ready to do a bong rip.
Sweet.
How are you guys doing? How's the weather? You're wearing a jacket. No, you're wearing a shirt. What's up, Tony?
The weather is always the same in Jamaica, believe it or not. You know, when you were here, it's like that. Colder? It's like that all the time.
It doesn't. You don't sweat here.
You don't sweat. It's beautiful.
80 degrees without sweat.
I have a house alarm going off right now in my kitchen. I have to go turn it off. This reminds me that House Church is right now.
All right, well, just remember to mute your mic, please, John, every time you do stuff like that. Okay, I'll mute it for you. Otherwise, it's the amount of sound that comes through.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's quite something for the logistics. So we got 192 viewers. We're still a little slow on the... yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, blessed love, man. Blessed love. All right, here we go. We got Cuban. What's that?
You give a shout out to where we're at.
Yeah, let's give a shout out right now to the Beachcomber Hotel.
They're really cool about us.
Pretty much right in the center of the 7 Mile Beach here, close to right next door to Margaritaville. Definitely a more touristy area. You're going to be on the beach. You're going to be dealing with people trying to sell you jet ski rides and rings and stuff. But it's a really nice experience, and if you support the locals, it can be really just an overall good experience if you just bring your kids and hang out on the beach. Or if you're more into the puffing scene, you can come enjoy a few days on the beach and head up to the cliffs, which to me, notoriously, has always been where Bubbleman stayed throughout the 90s and the 2000s. I was always up in the cliffs, renting my own place, so good zone up there. We'll probably take you guys for a little cruise through the cliffs at one point here. We've rented a car. Hopefully after Hash Church today, we're going to race up to our favorite restaurant, Just Natural, and like just consume the most delicious food. I mean, that was...
Yeah, we went yesterday and filmed a lot.
Yep.
And we had fruit platters. I had unbelievable porridge.
Yeah, I had the French toast.
Yeah.
I had a French toast, a fruit platter as well, with the tamarind and the peanut and the melon, and oh, it was just superb. Let's see if we're gonna get Cuban back in here. 200 people. We did start about an hour early, didn't we? Or are we right on time?
What time is it here?
It says it's 9 a.m. in DC, which is my normal time, but
Normally it starts at 9:30.
I thought it was a 3-hour difference.
Yeah, but because the daylight savings time, it's actually, most people think it's probably 8 a.m. Because I mean,
daylight.
Yeah.
So most people think right now it's 8 a.m. because they didn't pay attention. Just saying.
Well,
So-
most people still to this day ask me. For instance, Aaron, who's in Hash Church every week, asks me first, "Are we going to do Hash Church next week?" Which I say, "Yeah, every single week since I started." And then he says, "Well, what time does it start?" And then I say, "Go to the YouTube channel," because I don't know. Everyone has different times in the world, so I make a countdown page on YouTube, and then wherever you are, you can go to that countdown page, and it'll give you the right amount of time, counting down to when it starts for where you are. So.
That's a lot of information. I just want to get some hash.
Okay, let's do that. I mean, seriously. So last night at the Stepping High...
so much of our hash last night. All we have left is the 45 minutes.
Yeah, at the Stepping High Festival last night, we kind of showed up. It was a little bit disorganized at first. Lots of cool bands playing, and lots of people around, and some booths set up. We never really set up a booth, but at one point we saw a booth that was very dead. They were trying to sell ganja cake, and they had no one at their booth.
Didn't even sell a piece of cake yet.
They hadn't sold a cake. It was a brand new cake. So I asked them if we could help popularize their booth. If Tony and I could come and share some. I showed them the torch. I said, look,
First they said we could only have a 1 foot by 1 foot section of their table.
Right?
Remember that? She's
Yep.
like, well, you can stay down there. Where? She was right there on the corner. I go, right here? She's this 1 foot by 1 foot area is now yours.
Yeah.
And we'll work from there.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then about the 4th ganja cake that we sold, because we set up the mothership, we're giving out full melt dabs of the friggin' 73 and 90.
Fear and Loathing in Jamaica with these two guys, someone just said. It looks like Fear and Loathing. Hey, say hi to Hash Church, man.
Come on, hi.
Bless up.
Bless up, man.
Wicked.
Come on.
All right.
All right.
Wicked. Gotta let the local Jamaicans be a part of Hash Church, of course. Sunday
Yeah.
is a very spiritual day here in Jamaica. A lot of religious people, whether it's spirituality through the Rastafarianism, through Christianity, many different religions here on the island. But one thing is for sure, it's spiritual.
The word church and hash doesn't really relate to them very well.
No, it doesn't, in fact.
We said we have to do our hash church, and they were like, hash church? And they're like, you guys have been worshiping hash for the last 2 days on the porch facing the ocean. And I think that's what we thought it meant. And then he was like, and then Bubbleman this morning said, no, we have to find internet connection. We have to find a way. We have to find a way to smoke hash on TV. And she goes, what? You go, yeah, we're going to promote you. Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
Well, that's how it's got to go. I'm surprised our panel has not shown up.
There must be something wrong.
No. They're all sleeping.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Poor John's got this microphone that he moves like lightning, so he's always blurred. And because he doesn't talk into his microphone, he's doing this all the time. He cuts in and out, in and out, in and out. Dude, we have got to fix this because honestly, John, 24 episodes of Hash Church, we can't have it anymore, dude. You got to figure yourself out. Get a headset with a mouthpiece, and because you're an important panelist, and I always have to deal with your mic. It's too much. 24 episodes, dude. That's half a year.
45 pressed out.
Oh, thank you.
So, how
Oh, maybe we should invite Brad Higgins in. How about that? Maybe Brad wants to come in and talk about lights.
oh,
Let's see what's going on, I guess.
hopefully we don't run out of gas.
Well, I think as long as we get a hit each. As long as we get a hit each, so. Let's see. Also, someone mentioned the other day, Horatio's got to start smoking hash because all he does is smoke nicotine-laced. It is disgusting. I don't think I want it in Hash Church anymore, to be honest. Honestly, it's nasty. It's like, dude, this is Hash Church, and you're sitting here chain-smoking nicotine. What do you guys say in Hash Church? Should we ask Horatio to stop chain-smoking nicotine?
I think so.
And start smoking hash with us? I mean, this isn't Hash Church last time I heard.
Yeah, it's not nicotine church.
Oh, maybe it's only me having a problem with John's mic, Alex, because I'm the one recording it. I have my thing is set up a little bit differently. I have all the levels. Yeah, exactly, Rastafari.
See how big our torch was over here
John needs, yeah, here we go. John needs a nice headset for gamers, exactly. No, the iPhone headphones are
Can you hear me now?
Can't do it, Dartis
Are we
one.
working?
Yes.
I
Oh,
can't
look at
hear
this.
you.
Yes, we got you right here, coming out of this speaker. Look at our torch, John.
That's awesome.
Hey, welcome, Horatio. We were just talking about you.
Can you hear me now?
That's a nice torch, dude. It's just so nice.
So we just. Oh, okay. Yes. Here we go. Mothership, Hash Church. Let's do this. It was nice, but it could have been a little hotter. I just give it a real good crank. Welcome, Horatio. How's the day going?
Just a bit of a late start, you know. It's normally we start earlier. Everyone's gut is on a different timer, so just in a few minutes late.
No wires. Well, sweet. I hear you. I didn't realize there was. We're not paying much attention to time in the first place here.
Are we on time and everyone else is not, or?
I have no idea. It's hard to say. It seemed like we're on time because Hash Church. I let the time count down, and then I just start it. So everyone asks me every week, what time does it start? And I just say,
Well, this week it might be weird because
it's always a little weird. Let's see if we can get more than 17 minutes out of Hash Church today from Negril, Jamaica. I wish we could show you guys some of the area, but we're really kind of in a corner here.
Well, the place faces the water.
Yeah, the water's back there. Not sure if you guys can see that through the trees. I don't think so. But yeah, we're at second day of the Stepping High Festival yesterday. Today, yesterday we basically dabbed out about 1,000 people, and it was very interesting to have a giant blowtorch lighting up a quartz crystal bowl, orange hot, you know, with the mothership quartz bucket and the whole 9 yards. Several people blew water right through the pipe up into the quartz bucket. That was a classic. What was the other crazy thing the guy did with the pipe that we were like, whoa, whoa, whoa? We had to tell him to be super careful. The guy that also blew the water through the quartz bucket. So you get lots of madness when you're obviously hitting that many people up. I've seen it at the Cannabis Cup as well. You get that many people. Oh, good. Horatio heard every word. We want you, Horatio, to smoke more hash in Hash Church. We've had some comments about how much nicotine you're...
Hello. Is this working at all?
Yes, Johnny. We can hear you great. Can you hear me?
I tried.
Can you hear us, John?
No, it doesn't work. I haven't taken it
we can hear you, Rod.
6 years when I bought it, so.
All right. Well, shit.
I'll get one next week for today. Sorry, I'll be muting.
We'll get one what, next year?
Yeah, he'll get one next year. 2016, Johnny will have a top grade headset. Hey, how's the Ninja Nail treating you, Johnny?
It's right here.
How's it treating you? I thought you might.
And Hetty found the other bowl, which he said I put into my yellow container, and it was all wrapped up.
Don't give up, Johnny. More hash, full melt, dry sieve bubble for Horatio. Yes, there you go. There we go.
Okay, so here
full
we
melt
go.
bubble.
We're hitting
I
some
wonder
bubbles.
if the email went out today, because I'm still like wondering why we haven't. We did see Cuban at one point. I haven't seen Rob or Aaron. I guess I have to send Aaron.
like communicated with you
Like
every
20 times.
20 minutes.
Maybe I should send him a text.
Turtle.
Oh well, you know what? Nice and chill hash church from Jamaica. We're supposed to. Now here's the ridiculous part of our day. We're supposed to be in Negril probably till like late at night, but we don't even have a place anymore.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be in Spanish Town, which is at least 4.5 hours away. But
We've been told
it's only 2 to 3. If any Jamaican will tell you, it's only 2 to 3 hours. But if you get in the car with them and then you drive there, and when it's 4.5 hours, they'll say, well, it was bad traffic.
The highway isn't completed.
Yeah, highway isn't completed.
You don't have any way to get on or off the thing. I've only seen the highway. I've driven under it, around it, above it. People talk about it. There's no exits coming off of it.
No.
There's only 2 locations you can get on a highway.
The overpasses aren't complete, but it's getting built, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's been 10, 20 years.
At least. Unity in the community. I bet Jam Bubble is tasty with terps. Wow, what are people chatting about? I try to...
Can't believe we don't have any.
Yeah, we puffed all of our best hash last night. We're not going to lie. Oh, right here, dude.
Oh,
hit it up, bro. Let's start hitting this.
Yeah, this is good.
It's real good. Yeah, let's dry sift. It's a little dry sift.
I've been dry sifting every morning before work. Every morning around 6:30 I get up, I go into the garage, I spend about 20 minutes, I get about 1 gram of pure headies, and I've been hitting Supreme Court and puffing hard every day.
Yep, it's the same guy. I told him I was doing a live hash church at a certain time, and that if he didn't get here before that,
the interview guy?
Yeah. So now he'll hit me up endlessly, and I'll have to tell him, no, dude, I'm on the hash church, you know, doing that hash church.
Here's
What
this.
do we got here?
Dry sift.
Jesus, giving me the super dry sift. Gotta cup that shit. So what's going on in BC, guys? We're just fighting in court. We're waiting to. I heard John Conray did a great job annihilating the RCMP officer and proving that it was only his opinion that he was stating in court.
Oh, it was priceless, and it was Vom. He was a shark. It was pretty awesome. The police chief, or wasn't a police chief actually, he was just a policeman. He was the one who was complaining to Health Canada about grow up smells. He made 22 complaints. Then from there, he was only busting and looking at illegal gardens. So every information they had to do with illegal gardens. So nothing had to do with legal gardens. So they really had nothing to justify of what their accusations were, because they've never actually had any problems in legal gardens. So everything they were talking about, fire and mold and organized crime, was all came down to just hypothesis. And he wasn't an expert on these decisions. And just before lunch, the judge asked what an expert witness was, and he had it given to him to go in and read more about it. But it was pretty much, as Jeremiah would say, it was a bloodbath. And the day before, it was also the same thing. It was Health Canada directors on the stand proving they were just purely there as an administrative body to handle paperwork. Not really looking. She didn't even know that Alaska went legal. This is how much Health Canada, the people running Health Canada's MMAR program, were really involved with cannabis. It was really interesting 2 days. We're looking forward to the fire chief being on the stand tomorrow, and so far so good, guys. We did a really good interview with John Conway Thursday night. Jeremiah cut a video of it, so it'll be a 42-minute video on just the video we did with him. About his opinion and what was going on, and going into week 3 here, and it's looking good, but they've been really pushing grow boxes about regulating them and stuff, so it's really interesting on what's going to pan out here. So live Twitter, me, John Berfelo, and Cannabis Culture will be tweeting live from the courtroom every time we hear something that is relevant to our case, and we'll let you guys know what's going on.
Awesome, John. Thanks for the update. Welcome, Aaron the Turtle. How are you, my brother?
On there.
You're on mute. Man, my phone is blowing up. Everyone wants to call me during Hash Church. How you doing, Aaron? Unmute yourself. We want to hear you.
I was just talking for like 5 minutes.
I know. It was about
Dawn's
20
here.
seconds.
You don't want to
But
say hi, though.
hell yeah, he
Dawn on
does. Yeah, put Dawn on there.
What up, Mouse?
Yeah,
Oh,
buddy.
shit.
How's it going, everybody?
Fucking D and A, bitch.
Oh, hold on.
And hey, yeah, dude. Right on.
You
Good
guys
to
look
see
like
you, man.
Irene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about that, man. It is, well, you know, you weren't too far away for a while. The vibes are super relaxed.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. I go back the end of the month, so I'm definitely looking forward to relaxing.
I'm sure we'll start popping over to see one another.
It's a short flight, bro. It's only like an hour.
From
Yeah,
where?
that's awesome. From, like, Kingston to Aruba.
It's quick.
Probably a lot quicker than driving to Negril.
Yeah.
Well, with the roads in Jamaica,
Oh my
totally.
God, man.
Brother!
They said, no, man, it's 2 hours, 2 hours. You just go down
Yo!
the road. 4.5 hours
Yo!
later.
Yeah.
We got pulled over by
Everything's 2 hours.
How can he not see
We
me?
got pulled over by the cops. And the guy that was driving, this is classic. Cop comes over to my side of the window, and he goes, you guys were driving 70 and a 40, which we were not driving 70.
This is a great story.
We weren't driving 70 and a 40. We were definitely just doing 40. It was a windy road. You couldn't even drive 70 kilometers. You'd just be like off the side road. So the guy goes, look at my radar. You were doing 70 and a 40. And the guy that was driving,
Come on
he's,
up over here.
Jamaican. He said, oh, okay. He said, I didn't think I was going that fast. And I said, you weren't going that fast. And the guy says, do you have anything to declare? And I said, no, we don't have anything to declare. And Maurice goes, yeah, we got something to declare. I go, no, we don't. He goes, yeah, we got stuff to declare. I was like, we do not have anything to declare. The guy's like, I'm here for the dangerous drug act. We're in the middle of the country pulling people over to try to safen the roads or something. And I was like, safen the roads? Well, pulling people over and scamming them for a ticket, just not right, you know. So, and then I was like, what are you gonna declare?
Okay,
He's
yeah,
like,
tell him what you thought he was going to declare.
I thought he was gonna declare my mothership.
Yeah. Tony had his fab egg with him, and he was sitting there worried that Maurice was going to go tell the cops, okay, well, we have this fab egg. It's a mothership. And so this is Tony's mind sitting there
Because we
thinking...
just got done talking about it. I was smoking it. I was using it, and I hit a dab in the car, and I just put it away. And he's like, oh, that's a really nice thing. So the guy pulls us over. Do you have anything to declare? And I was like, no, we don't have anything to declare. And Maurice is like, yeah, we got stuff to declare. I was like, we don't have anything to declare. I just got off the airport. I didn't declare anything.
Not even at the airport.
Not even at the
So
airport.
why in the middle of the country?
Well, I declare something.
I ain't got nothing to declare.
He goes,
nothing to declare.
Dude, wait till you find out what our friend declared.
So the cop goes, do you have anything to declare? And he said, yeah, we have to declare. And I was like, all right, well, what are we declaring? This is like 1:30 in the morning. He goes, firearms. And I was just like, firearms?
Firearms?
I was like, guns? I was like, oh, shit. And he goes, no, it's fine. It's fine. So he pulls out a gun wrapped in like cloth and stuff. And he says, no, it'll be fine. I said, oh, it'll be fine. He goes to the cop car for at least 35, maybe 45 minutes. I don't see the guy. He's gone. My phone signal's dead. I'm trying to meet you in the grill. I'm completely lost in the middle of nowhere. Twice we've been lost. And he's like, yeah, we're going to declare firearms in the middle of the country, in the middle of Jamaica. Hello. And no, it's pretty funny. So they ended up giving him a $5,000 ticket.
Yeah, just a $5,000 ticket,
No
you know.
big deal.
No biggie.
Did they give him his gun back?
Yeah,
Of
they gave
course.
his gun back. He
Yeah,
declared it. So, because he declared it.
Can you imagine Tony, though, saying, no, we have nothing to declare, really, while Maurice simultaneously is saying, yes, we have something to declare. And they keep doing it.
I was like, what do we have to declare? I looked at him. He's like, firearms. I was like,
Firearms.
Firearms.
And had he not declared that shit, it would have been way worse for him, I'm sure.
oh, yeah, they probably could have searched the whole thing.
You
But
think? What's up, brother? You want to come introduce yourself to
I
Hash
woke
Church?
up with a broken neck.
Hey, so this is a brother I met in Kingston the other day. What was your name again?
Yeah, L-O-O-K-Y-A-H.
Damien Loca.
Yeah, Luke. Yeah.
Lucia.
L-O-O-K-Y-A-H.
Lucia.
Instagram.
L-O-O-K.
Paparazzi?
So, no, what he's doing is he's doing a documentary. Actually, you tell them what you're doing, Damien.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing a documentary on medicinal herbs in Jamaica. You know, the zeitgeist and the orgeist, sign of the time, sign of the
Speak
place.
loud.
The zeitgeist and the orgeist, the sign of the time and the sign of the place. Yeah, medicinal herbs in Jamaica, basically.
Nice. I like it. Well, I did a little interview with them, and hopefully it'll come out okay. I was trying to offer him some photography last night. He wanted to shoot some of the pipes that we had and stuff, and it was a little bit of a hectic environment, so I said, come over in the morning, we can make some photos happen a little bit easier. So he phoned me earlier, and he said, I'm right in front of the place, and I said, okay, walk over to the blue security gate, but then he never did.
No, it's two, you know.
Oh, no, there's one right there? Of course. And then I don't answer my phone during Hash Church, but I managed to get a text off to him. So we got 350 people watching live right now from around the world. We got Aaron and Dawn, D and A, with Horatio, Johnny B, myself and Tony, our guest Damien. And yeah, we're ready to have more people come and visit, man. Let's invite Nick over from Harborside. Let's invite Milo, the one and only Big Buddha.
You want some
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh, and of course,
We're not gonna be gone too long because we got to go take a drive up to the greenhouse right now.
will you be gone till December?
I'll be gone till I see you.
Gone till November. Don's just hitting some sweetness in the background there, or what?
Some kosher, full melt.
Bubble.
It's always nice to see you guys together.
Yeah, it is.
You know, there's a unique thing that is created when hanging out with Don, good times, hanging out with Aaron, good times. Don and Aaron create like a third entity. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the unity in the community. I like it nonetheless, so thank you guys.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. You know, we love to hang out with you too, Mark.
Oh, right on. Hey, we should give a shout out.
A little bit of support. Of course, I carry this around with me. My D-nail.
Oh shit! Look at that. You got Be Real and Don there.
You know how hard it was to get a photo shoot with me and Be Real together, bro? It was like...
That's the new seed company, B and A.
B and D.
D&B.
D&B.
B and D. B and D. Hey, so we should give a shout out to Bobby Nuggs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bobby Nuggs. He's an East Coast activist, really active, writes for Relief magazine.
Yeah.
He's out in Rhode Island, right? So Bobby had a serious asthma attack yesterday. It left him in a cardiac arrest, and he's been hospitalized. And he was trying to come on to Hash Church this week for the first time, and he had this blackout asthma attack. So let's send out. Let's all have a big rip, you know, everyone, 355 viewers plus. Let's take a rip for Bobby Nuggs, man. He's a good kid, and we hope you're feeling better soon, dude, and we hope to get you into the Hash Church. So
our prayers to his family and his friends.
You noticed last night I played Peter Tosh's Buckingham Palace for you, and you asked me, what song is this? It was Like That Kiss Blue. A band played that last night. They covered it. I recorded the whole thing. Just a little coincidence happening here in Jamaica. Should have put a smile on my face.
Deep dish banger, guys. It's great. You just kind of dunk it in.
All right, dunking in the deep dish. We had the deep dish going last night. I know. What did we have? We had the quartz bucket. Quartz bucket.
We gotta
350.
I was gonna say we gotta get that kosher kush here, right here in BC in my garden. I have to grab some seeds.
Right?
Nice hat. Nice hat, John.
It's what I grabbed off the hat rack there, whatever was there.
We use Soul Stick. We use some of their lighting.
They got good bulbs. They got.
What is Johnny? Hey, welcome, Cuban. I just sent you the link again, thinking maybe you accidentally find it or something.
Oh man, I
Cuban's
built
having
one
technical
yesterday. and
Oh, really?
for some reason my video card's not recognizing the webcam, or it's like making it lag really bad, man. I was in a bummer. I had to whip out the old laptop.
Oh.
Yep, it happens, man. How did you think I felt this morning at like half an hour before Hash Church with no internet connection since I've been in Negril? And I'm like asking someone, where can I get the internet? And they're like, you have to sit on that chair in that corner of that deck over there. And I was like, seriously? They're like, yeah, so this is where Tony and I are right now, along with Damien, who's doing a little... are you
learning about medicinal herbs?
Yeah, he's basically like everyone else. He's hoping that Hash Church is going to click into gear here soon, and we're going to start dropping serious knowledge. So that's what he's here to pick up, along with most everyone else. You know, last night the thirst was strong. I met a lot of people who just were like, simple things like coconut-infused hash, hash-infused coconut oil. This is something that is very available on the island, coconuts, ganja, and hash, but no one is doing these infusements, and it's very simple to do. I must have told 100 people how to do it and lead them to the website to show them the video. It's interesting how there's this sort of agenda, you can tell here, that's kept information from, like, there's this enormous value here, right? We have, I think there's 86 or 87 of the 160 most medicinal herbs found on the planet. It's like 50% of the world's most medicinal plant fauna grows here in Jamaica. Not just grows here, but like has been here for a long, long, long time. Pretty cool.
Cool shit. Hey, well, I'm gonna let other people get on because I gotta go tend to the greenhouse right now.
All right, well, hopefully we see you guys back later. It was a nice little treat to have Don and Aaron. We would have loved at least a story, but I understand you guys are growing weed and it's important, so...
no, we're building.
We'll
we're building an empire, bro. We ain't growing weed. We're building.
Yeah, I love your greenhouse, bro. The pictures you guys are posting.
Buddha!
Oh, shit.
What's up, you crazy man?
I'll see you in a week or so.
The fakest Chinaman is in town.
Hey, I'll see you in a week or so, too.
That's right. I'll see you. We'll all see each other. Cuban, we'll see each other soon, too. Horatio, we'll meet. Hey.
Love you, Aaron.
I'll see you in Canada when you get out of the house. Hola, my amigo from my big amigo. ¿Cómo estás?
Bless up, Aaron and Don.
Later, Tony. We'll talk. I'll see you in a week or so.
I'll see you in a week, bro. Take care.
Hey, turn your speakers down, Milo. You're getting a little bit of a reverberation, or just mute your mic when you're not talking. But on a side note, welcome, dude. It's good to see you.
Horatio will meet. Hey,
Great.
I'll see you in Canada when you get out of the house.
You can hear that too, right?
Hola, my amigo from my...
Mute. All right. If you've turned down, shut down the YouTube chat if you have it. You probably don't. Otherwise, just turn your speakers down a little bit. This is to you, Buddha, so that when we talk through your speakers, it doesn't reverberate through your microphone.
It's kind of like when you're on the. If you ever watched The Price is Right when you're a kid, and they called you down, you get really excited, and you're like, "The Price is Right," and you're like, "Yeah!" And sometimes they call you at home, and they're like, "You're on the radio." You get so excited, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Turn your radio off." You're like, "What?"
Right.
Turn your radio off. We're getting reverb. That's what goes on here.
Well, we are going to have to figure out if we can go get the extension cord at one point and figure out a way to extend our life here, because we only have about 30 minutes on this particular computer.
Oh my god.
I know.
We might as well get an extension.
I think so, and then go into this office.
Power pack. He's got a power pack.
Yeah, I know it needs a...
I wish I was here, man.
I wish you were here too, man. Holy shit. Well, maybe once those mountains...
Dreadlocks looking on point, for sure.
Yes, indeed.
I got hash knowledge for superior hair work, please. Please fix my hair. No, I will wall out there, man. I know the sunshine's nice.
It fixes itself out here. It's the salt water. I think if you go in the water... That's what happened to me when I used to come here a lot. I'd go in the water and come out, and then my hair would just dread when I had longer hair.
Yeah, that happened to me yesterday.
Yeah, Tony was getting dreads. He had to fix that shit. And I know,
Hey,
I know
Tony.
Buddha has a massive problem with that as well.
Buddha, you would completely dread it out just like I did yesterday.
I'm trying to get there, bro, but you know, I still got a long ways to go before I reach your stats, Tony. Buddha, what's up, bro? I'm a big fan of yours, man, since before I was even on the internet.
Thank you, bro.
Just nice to have you and be in the same panel as you, bro.
Yeah, thanks. Pleasure to be here, guys. Pleasure to be here. How's the bubble hash in Jamaica, Mark?
Well, it's on point, let's just say, but I'm not quite sure the stuff we're smoking is from here.
Yeah. I remember one thing you told me last November, the Jarella and the Betsy Ross.
The Betsy Ross. Man, we have fun, don't we?
Always have fun, brother. Always.
Wicked.
The Betty Ross. Yeah, we created that on the couch. Huh?
Right, because Jarella was the Hulk's girlfriend.
Yeah.
But then she was kind of the alien, hardcore bad girl. Betsy Ross was the good girl.
Fantastic.
Terp sift, terp melt.
Now the whole terp thing's taken off quite a bit.
Yeah, can you see how the terp thing's taken off just since us playing around with that?
I had a guy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh man, everybody's got terps now.
We were all just having fun.
Yeah, but you know, you got to ask where are the terps coming from? What the hell are they doing to get the terps? And it takes a while. Like Horatio will testify that like there's a lot of trial and error and there's a lot of things you have to do. And if you're going to do them out of alcohol, that's great. I wouldn't necessarily smoke them. But you know, you got to be careful what you're doing with them.
I actually did a little video to start getting people started on even like a basic standpoint of where they can start in learning about this. And I was at the nutraceutical announcement of the industry that the Prime Minister spoke at as the keynote speaker, as well as it was a big thing, right? You're telling me, right? There was Anthony Hilton was there, Minister of Industry, Philip Caldwell, the Minister of Health.
Because this time in Jamaica is when like marijuana is being legalized in Jamaica.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamaica can brand it all over the world.
Yes.
Already has a brand.
So it was a pretty huge deal. And anyway, SRC as well as the University of the West Indies and the Scientific Review Committee had booths set up, and they had different little scientific things set up. So they had a little system set up with distillation where they had, you know, the little kind of rovap thing that you kind of spin with the material in it, and then you can, it's not under vacuum, it uses a small amount of heat. So right off the bat, this isn't the rightest way to do it, but what it does is it evaporates water, and then the water sort of melts the terpenes and carries it through a condenser, and then the condenser separates the liquid, and then they had done lemongrass. And I did a video about this. This video will be on Bubbleman's World in the upcoming days, and I think it'll spark a lot of people's minds, because right now most people, all people that are talking about terpenes are literally giving up not one iota of how they're doing it, which is fine. But this is going to give you guys an idea of at least, like, this is how chemists do it. If you just walked into a lab and said, hey, I want to extract a essential oil, they'll start with a steam distillation, start learning about the difference between an artifact and a true molecule in regards to a terpene or a terpenoid. You can buy many books on terpenes and volatile and essential oils, and I suggest if you want to know everything about these things, they're not in any single cannabis book. They are not there. You have to search essential oils, and you have to search like through steam distillation, and then of course that will lead you into more proper ways. The keys are, we don't want heat, so if you can't use heat, but you need to use some sort of, you know, like pressure, then that's where a vacuum comes in. I'm not a chemist myself. I haven't done any of these processes myself, but I can tell you that you guys can start playing. The key is, I would like to see a group of people trying to extract water-soluble terpenes from water, but I'd really like to see people using raw plants, whole plants that are fresh, to try and get their terpenes out of as well. And that's about all the hints I could give you guys from someone that's not actively actually doing it.
Well, and then there's another complex to it. So the heads themselves, you know, how we were talking about it going from clear, milky, amber, red. Those indicating like the CBN or the pH would change. You're getting lots of red, light, blown out. going to see more of the conversion happening on the plant than you would afterwards. So the THC is actually converting to CBN. This would be somebody, the plant was supposed to be pulled down, let's say 60, 70 days, and it went to 90, 100, 120 days. It just intentionally went too far. You can change the way the ripening of those heads are. So just like when we were talking about cultivating resin to a certain standard, a certain percentage, you know, those heads that were isolated, you want to be able to grab those heads, and you want to be able to grab the terpenes.
Here, you
right
take
time.
my seat. I'm gonna go and find the
plug.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find the extension cord and try to get it powered up here.
So terpenes need to be harvested and cured in accordance with the heads too. Watch out for that thing. Is that Mark in the background? What's up, buddy? Nice.
Did someone say chemistry?
Yeah. He was saying if you were a chemist and you were trying to extract terpenes, you'd go about it a certain way. And, you know, everybody's like, I think a lot of people out there are just like, the word terps has become really popular. And I even saw somebody calling terp melt the wrong thing. It's like, I was the one who created terp melt. Like, I should know, like, what it means. And it was just, like, completely misrepresented. People are using terp juice, like terp juice found in like little nicotine stores. Weird shit.
Tony, can you taste the different types of terps depending on the maturity? Like you said, from clear amber heads all the way to like red heads on the same strain.
On the same strain, yes, absolutely. So.
Is it more intense to terpene, or is it? How would you describe it?
I would say that if you want something like to taste like the plant or smell like the plant, then you want to take it when the plant produces those flavonoids and those smells and everything that you're looking for. So I don't really mess with dry material anymore. So if you have like aged dry material, then that's going to, you know, you've already lost a lot of the water, you've lost a lot of the terpenes, things have changed in the time and the temperature with that, so now it's aged within the plant material acts upon it like kind of like a sponge. So if you were isolating heads and then you're isolating terpenes and then you're curing out your heads, you're also curing out your terpenes. So if you extracted the terpenes and you had the same heads, like if you had 99% heads, dry sift, and you already had the terpenes in another vial, and you let them cure out, say, for a 3-month period, you would see the terpenes would change you'd see it would change its smell quite a bit. So if you harvest them really late, then when you, it's basically, I always compare it to the grape and the raisin.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to harvest the grape and you're going to eat the grape, then it has a different flavor than you harvesting a raisin. You know, you're trying to pull terps out of a raisin versus terps out of a grape.
And the changing of the terps is, I mean, wouldn't temperature be a good way to at least slow down that change? If you cure dry material at a very, very cold temperature to like limit the degassing of the terpenes?
That would be wonderful. Yes, you would get the first exposure of the chlorophyll and all the other things. And if you slow cured it in cold temperatures, that would certainly help. And at some point, that would be called a fresh cure. So at some point, that's when I personally would extract terpenes in that time period, not when it hits the jar.
So one thing I realized, Tony, is as a grower and always in my room, I always say my room smells like Christmas dinner, probably around 8 weeks, but then I push farther, so I'm getting more terps in earlier times. And I'm also seeing a lot of guys making the shatters and butters up here now, taking their crops at day 46, day 49, because they're getting clear resin for their live resin. So that kind of makes sense what you're talking about. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
yeah.
with water hash.
Yeah, same thing with the water. So if you're pulling something clear, nice smooth. It's great. If you're pulling heads that are mostly clear, 90% clear, well then your resin's going to be that way. If you're pulling, that's incredible. We've got all kinds of stuff going on here just to keep the show going live.
That's awesome.
He's got a D-nail plugged into an extension cord off this roof.
I mean, for me, I can harvest through all times of the same plants and get different.
Yeah. So I just said that was the absolute latest time. So you have to remember that a plant ovulates. It's like a woman, so it's a female between day 24 and 32. Between day 24 and like 31, it's ovulating, so that's like the time of which it can actually it'll actually accept the pollen, and then that's because it's going through a hormone change, and so the secretion that comes out of the leaf and the calyx, depending on that genetic trait. So if we're going from CBGA and it's hosting CBDA and THCA in its plant structure, and it's creating those first layers of oils on the leaves and the calyx, and then it creates the stalk and the trichome head. And most people are chasing the trichome head, but that's why you'll notice between polar and non-polar techniques, or even semi-polar techniques, it'll pull more of these, say, the CBD oil out. That's because once it goes through that hormone cycle, then there's a time period in which those oils are secreting, the leaves are starting to coat, now it's starting to build its stalks and its heads, and there's all kinds of other things that are at that molecular level we haven't really gone full into. So when we focus on the heads, we're focusing on the end result and product of whatever environment and its genetics that it's growing.
Way to remember what you were talking about while I'm doing all this shit around you and like distracting you. Crazy, I could hear it. Like.
Well, no. So I was just trying to get at the fact that the resin heads themselves produce a clear to yellow to amber to red oil,
okay,
based on the ripeness or the maturity of those heads and when they're taken. So terpenes, we were talking about it where I said, yeah, you could take them earlier. And so right after the ovulation period, 24 to 31 days, there's the initial buildup of the oils and things on the leaves before they start building the stalks and the heads.
Yep, when they're bulbous.
Yep. And so in that stage, that's when it's the earliest stage. So you could start messing with terpenes then, but...
Oh, I even brought the quartz crystal bowl.
Yeah.
So we don't have to torch anymore. We want to preserve our torch.
So yeah, week 8. You were talking about week 8, like, and that's why you see like a lot of people that they'll have like a really clear jelly kind of looking hash, is because it's taken early.
Lots of early hash out there.
Early hash.
But then again,
I've noticed for competition, a lot of the entries, it seems like for the visual, you know, they go with the early runs, and I went with week 12, and my water hash was more on the darker side. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I prefer, and I've said it before. It sounds crazy, but I prefer preemie resin for water hash. If the terpenes are there at week 7 or 6 to 7, I'm down to wash it.
There's, I think if you're going to do something like that, there would be a technique that I think would be nice to use if you're going to go early, just because I always like to make sure things are flushed. You could do what they do in echinacea, and so there's like a flush, and then there's a stop, and then another flush period. So essentially, if you were going to like feed with just water 2 times in a week, and you had 2 feeds left of just water, you would do your water, and then you would wait to the day you were going to do your water and not do it. And then what would happen is it would starve the plant, and the plant would kind of like drop and droop. So what it does is it's going to kind of shock the plant and push everything out. So it'll push it'll push water and it'll kind of expand those heads right at the last second, and it'll really pushing that water through the plant while it's still on the plant would help. So then you would wait until it actually drooped and then give it that second flush. So it's kind of like holding off on its water on its last flush or two, and intentionally trying to get it to push the water. And then you give it its water, and then it kind of comes back, and then you harvest it. They do that with echinacea and some other types of plants too.
You plant rain, you're gonna harvest wind.
Let me ask you another question, man. On you were talking about the harvesting of heads. I've seen, and it was brought to my attention first from Archive, that some genetics have trichomes that have a stalk, and then they have resin that looks like just a head growing on the actual like calyx or plant material. You know what I mean? And when you magnify it, it looks a lot like a trichome head. Just doesn't have a stalk. So I don't know if there's a way to actually separate those type of heads. What is the difference in the content between a trichome in the traditional sense and then the heads that are on the actual like bud itself? And I wish I could pull up a picture. Maybe I can get the Minicam so I can show you a reference.
Well, there's three kinds of trichomes we're dealing with. We've got capitate stalked, sessile stalked, and bulbous. So both capitate and sessile are on stalks. Capitate stalked is very tall. Sessile is much shorter, and then bulbous are the little round balls that are all over the leaves. Even they show up on the first set of leaves, the epicaudal. Once the cotyledon opens of a seedling, and the second, that true first set of serrated leaves, it's called the epicaudal. It has bulbous trichomes on it, and I'm certain those bulbous trichomes are the beneficials from juicing raw cannabis.
As well as when we were talking about polar versus non-polar, so people can hate on liquid hydrocarbon or you know, subcritical CO2, which is like a semi-polar. Extractions are used in other industries. So when you're talking about lavender, or you're talking about aromatherapy or something, they're utilizing those types of polarities in their solvents to pull out the things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get with screens, or all the way what's happening with the water hash. So it's a way of being able to capture the entire spectrum of that plant. You have to look at it as well as the where the heads are located, but the polarity of it.
Yeah, so that's what I was pretty much getting to, man. Those heads that don't have a stalk, I mean, with water hash, they don't look very practical to extract. So I guess with like a solvent-based extraction to get the true full medicinal purpose of the plant, that'll be the best way to extract it, huh? Because I can imagine those heads do have some sort of oil inside.
Yeah, they're really important. So that's why I always keep my options open. Like, I just think of, you know, I'm not at war like some people between LHO, PHO, BHO. I think if you're going to use a hold on a second here.
Hold on just a second.
Like water being a solvent or anything else that's a solvent. Some people want to argue that, but that's the definition.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It can rock, break down many things. Lots of things are
in this particular case, water is a solvent because some of the components of cannabis are water soluble. So there are water soluble terpenes, so therefore water is a solvent.
Exactly, and it has its polarity and its function too.
I always simply say to people that are like, yeah, but in water hash it's not being used as a solvent, and then I merely say, then why is the water a different color at the end of it? Where did all that stuff come from?
It tastes great.
Sometimes it tastes great.
And
sometimes
even
it tastes great. If you're
oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you.
So sometimes
I work with the CBD strain that I have, and I find that when the dry sector, any kind of extraction with it, just like I don't get nothing from it. Am I taking it too long? Is just more better if I just decarb it. Like to do the extraction with it, I get nothing. Even when I just bounced with it. Me and Mark got one hit from it, but it's not getting the heads on that plant.
Yeah, I guess we would be back to the technique we were joking around and talking about last hash church with the rosin and the t-shirt and parchment.
Right, yeah.
We're probably heating and squeezing all those different types of heads as well.
You'll get a kick out of this, Cuban. We're supposed to judge the Stepping High Festival today around 2 o'clock or so. And so Bobby said to me yesterday, yeah, we'll get strains and whatnot. And I told Tony to bring a little iron and some parchment. And I'll just test all of the strains by dabbing them out. So we might film that and see how it goes.
Oh, that's
rosin.
This rosin thing is
100 emails asking. Yeah, it's blowing up, dude. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I had a High Times editor or something hit me up. I guess they watched the show, and for some reason they got the misconception that I was the rosin dude, and they're like, man, we really want to do an article on rosin because it's just blowing up. I'm like, well, you know, I'm not the rosin guy, but let's talk about dry sift. They're like, no, dry sift, it's okay. You know, we could talk about dry sift if you give us some information on the rosin. I'm like, man, go hit up Soil Grown for that stuff, man.
But he's not even the rosin guy. That's the hilarious thing. The rosin guy is Compassion from 13 years ago who coined the phrase rosin.
Wasn't it? Was he on Overgrow?
Yeah, he was on Overgrow. Yeah, his name is Chad. He's I knew him years ago in Victoria. I met him probably 13 or 14 years ago. He was making dry sift at the time, but it was quite low quality. He wasn't able to clean it, but he did figure out this great trick with milking resin glands that weren't that good. So and Soil Grown for sure is the guy that sparked the resolution, if you will.
Yeah, and he's been focusing a lot on the pressing of the flowers, which is cool.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that I've been that I get happy about. A lot of my friends, I guess, they get into dry sift, right? So I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, Johannes, yesterday, and he broke up some weed on on some sort of a plastic dish, right? He's like, hey man, I'm gonna show you the Johannes tech. Check this out. He shook the plastic, got the weed out, and all the heads stuck to it. Oh man, I thought it was pretty interesting.
What now?
Yeah.
You put it in a plastic Tupperware?
Yeah, well, he had like this little container. I guess he kept his little hash jars in, but the container was plastic, right? And I noticed that it must have had a similar reaction to like what parchment does.
Okay.
Or whatever the case. So he broke the weed, and he's like, man, this strain right here, you have to dry sift it, bro. I mean, look how many heads it puts down. Check this out. He like shook it a certain way, and the head stuck, but the trim fell down, you know what I mean? And I was like, damn, when I looked at it, for something so simple, it was quite pure, man. So it's cool to see people, you know, looking at keef a different way and trying to figure ways out to polish it. True way is a scream, but, you know, it's still interesting. Another dude sent me a video on Instagram about he keeps his weed in like a Ziploc bag, and when he's done with the Ziploc bag, he does a certain something with the bag, like rubs it, and the heads stick to one spot and the contaminant on the other. I thought that was interesting too. Everybody has their method of doing it.
Very cool. Hey, welcome Todd McCormick in the house.
Hey guys, how's Jamaica?
Good to see you.
Hey guys. Hey Milo.
Hey Todd, how are you, bro?
Good to see you, buddy. Been a long time since Ibiza.
Yeah, man.
Probably been thinking, like, are you there right now, Milo?
No, I'm in sunny England at the moment.
Oh my goodness, I kind of pictured you in Ibiza.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm back on Thursday, but
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Well, next hash church, maybe not next hash church, but 2 hash churches from now, we all could be in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona. Great story. You should tell the story about Barcelona.
No, when we was there last year.
No, just why they pronounce it like that. I thought that was quite a funny story.
Yeah, he's new, so he needs to do a confession story.
Yeah, a confession story. We need to hear a confession, Milo. This is church.
I have no
confession. That's part of the deal, bro. When you come under hash church, now you have to do a confession. So what that confession means is you need to tell the world and tell us the most catastrophic or messed up situation that you've ever been in with a grow.
Right. There you go. That's
Like,
a pretty good story.
Some people talked about the power or flooding. I talked about when I was
Getting pulled over in the middle. Oh, you're talking just grow related.
grow related.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What? You electrocuted?
Some people, no, I didn't do. Mine was.
What was yours?
Mine was. Oh. Mine was having the guy, my buddy that I was growing with, we hermapped the plants and the pollen got all over my clothes and then pollinated all of my gardens.
Oh.
So I had hermaphrodites.
That's pretty bad.
Shit everywhere.
Hey, welcome D420K. Wow, everyone looks tired. We've got a tired crew in the house today.
There, it looks like he.
Oh no. Oh, kitty, dude. That sucks. Hate to hear that.
Who's there?
Let's take a rip for D420K. He's sick as fuck and got a lung infection.
There you go. Look at that.
Hope you feel better, bro.
Lord.
Sorry, dude.
Hallelujah.
Hey, D420, you have a righteous beard, man. You're looking good even when you're sick, bro.
Is this thing on?
Man.
This thing on?
I haven't had a dab, a toke for 3 days. 3 days I haven't had a hit.
How'd you get a lung infection, bro?
I got a bad flu, and because of my diabetes and stuff, I get infections in my lungs and stuff if I don't look after it. And it was just, I was vitamined up for like I was so much vitamined up and everything. I should have been able to fight it. But
You're looking good even when you're sick, bro.
thanks, man. Yeah, I can't even cough. It feels like I fucking did 3,000 sit-ups. 3 days. Fucking. 3 days I haven't had a hit.
How'd you get a lung infection, bro?
I got a bad flu, and because of my diabetes and stuff, I get infections in my lungs and stuff if I don't.
So yeah, man. I guess I do have the tired look, but it's also, you know, the high look. You can kind of mix them both. But yeah, man, I hope you feel better, bro. I think you had the YouTube video replaying in the background. And everybody's muted.
I was wondering what happened, actually.
Yeah, that awkward silence. I'm like, man, my bad.
I was trying to talk there. That was funny. I was telling a whole story.
Mark muted himself. That's what happened.
Long rip.
When I'm coughing, because I figure no one wants to hear it.
Hey, I want to hear the story.
Me too.
Yes, the story, just not my coughing. I meant. The story is.
Party started at 10 p.m.
Yeah, the party last night, the Stepping High Festival started last night at like 10 o'clock at night.
We got a little bit of a slow start.
It was a little bit of a slow start. We were supposed to be there at 3 p.m. 7 hours later it started, and it was pretty poppin' actually. There was like truckloads of cops, but they didn't seem too concerned about anything. And then
I like how they were all wearing bulletproof vests.
Great artists, I'll tell you.
Like somebody was gonna pull out a gun.
I had a great moment with Tony. We hooked up with some people that had a table selling ganja cake, and we started dabbing everyone out. And we did that for quite a while, maybe a couple hours straight. And eventually, Kid Asai showed up.
We did that for 3.5 hours.
Straight?
Yeah.
Before I left with Kiddis?
I stayed there the whole time.
I know.
I acted like I was going to leave, but I never did.
I know. So I left with Kiddis after some dabs. And he was like, oh, I got to go perform. And the band was on, and the whole timing of it was incredible. But it's pitch black, but there's lights from the stage in the distance, and they're lighting him up. And he's 70 years old, pretty much one of the coolest dudes.
From the back of the back.
Yeah, from the back of the back of the back, from like the booth to doing dabs. Like you'll see him doing dabs, and then you'll see him just sauntering through the crowd. You can kind of see him every once in a while put his arm up in a silhouette because someone's, yelling, Kiddis! Kiddis! And so he's walking through, and he's giving hugs, and he's walking backstage past the cops.
It's almost as impressive as Apollo and Rocky.
Really? I mean, I'm telling you, right? Some Scorsese shit I was tapping into. Anyway, he's walking backstage. He goes back around the back of the stage. He walks up the stage, up the stairs. Then he walks around to the front. I'm with him, except I don't go up the stairs. I allow my camera to follow him up. And then I head around the stage, losing him only for about a quarter of a second. See him from the front for the first time in the video since the dab. He's got these big white thick-rimmed glasses on. His dreads are sticking out of his hat, and he's just saying like some prophetic, wicked shit in his awesome Kidis Eye voice. And there's like a bunch of dudes like playing big drums on the stage. The whole front of the stage is lined with budding marijuana plants that are all 3, 4, and 5 feet tall, and they all have their names written on the pots. And there's a dude standing there with like the Ethiopian Coptic, what's the cross called? Yeah, he's holding that, and he's got this real serious look on his face, and I'm telling you, and then Kidis performs an incredible song. I am like stoked to share this footage with you guys. Google Kidis Eye on YouTube if you haven't ever heard him. He's got some great old school roots music. Topsy Turvy World is one of my favorites. Yeah, he's from Inna the Yard, exactly. Him and Chinna Smith go way back. Those guys have known each other since they were, I think he said he knew Chinna since he was 17. Which is like, and Chinna, of course, if you guys don't know who Chinna is, well, Earl Chinna Smith has been on probably over 500 albums. He's literally played with everyone. He's super incredibly talented, and I guarantee you right now, if he's awake, he's playing guitar. Mm-hmm. So Google some of that, too. These are gems, guys, really, gems. Longer for you?
Oh, here you go.
I'm taking it.
I'm talking to Ashley here, trying to get.
Guys, I just thought I'd stop in and say hi. I don't want to start coughing and being sick on here. I'm dying, so I'm gonna head out.
Look, sorry to hear you're feeling shitty, bro. I hope you get better.
Oh man, I was supposed to go down to Van last week. My bong. I didn't get to go because I was trimming for 4 days, and then I got sick. I was supposed to go down today to Vancouver. Now it don't look like I'm going to be going down till Wednesday or Thursday at least because of this fucking bacterial infection, eh?
Well, I'll be back.
Yeah, and you know what? That mothership is worth the wait, and the SIF that I'm bringing them is worth the wait. So I don't feel too bad. It's just fuck the way it is.
I need to be there, dude. Come on.
I think so too. That's what's happening. It's getting life. The universe is holding me off so that you can be there to film it and present this pipe to me.
Wicked, dude. Wicked. We'll get better, man. Go eat a gallon of your coconut oil, dude.
I do. I am. Trust me. You guys have a good day, everybody in the world out there. Peace and hash.
The Dry Sif General signing out. D420K. Everybody go check him out on his YouTube channel and his Instagram. D420K. D420K on his YouTube. He's a great fucking guy. He's making videos. He's having fun. Go check him out. Give him some support. I guess I should check the chat. People have been talking, and I haven't even tuned in at all. D-Nail. Dabinator versus D-Nail? Well, that's not even a question. Dabinator was just a product created by a gentleman from Germany who based it very much on the D-Nail. I think he would be inspired by the people from D-Nail. And I think the guys from D-Nail appreciate that the guy from Dabinator worked on making proper products, made it in Germany, didn't just buy cheap Chinese components. So that's all I really have to say about that. And yes, Kidis Eye, go check him out. YouTube it up. You should be listening to some right now.
Hey, are you gonna make hash out there in Jamaica this time or no?
Well, you know, I could. It could happen. I got bubble bags.
And you have the hookup to the good material this time. You do the version 2.0 of the video.
Yeah. I think so, dude. I think that it'll happen sooner than later, if not this trip. I mean, the whole purpose of all these trips is so that I can make hash in Jamaica. Which really, I guess, the new way of saying it is so that I can process material to produce raw product. Offer a standard. You know, try to be a part of a standard, not offer. I just want to be a part of a standard. I want to be a part of a group that helps raise the bar for standards. You know, I want them to be like, this is the standard, and then be like, okay, but we're still coming in right here if you don't mind. Raise the bar.
Quality over everything.
Always.
That's the only way.
You know what? For a long time, the quality over quantity is sort of the, it's like the love and abundance versus the fear and scarcity. And so for me, I've always been attracted to the quality, really, of everything. I use full melt as a metaphor for, like, I want full melt food. I want to sleep on a full melt bed. I want to hang out with full melt people, like 90 micron, 120, 73. Those are my people.
Yeah, if you think in 120, 90s, and 73s, then you're definitely a quality over quantity guy from the get-go.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. I don't think about quantity anymore. When I think about quantity, I just think about growing better genetics and more resin and until the next wash.
So size matters?
Size matters when you're in the quality side, man.
Size of glandular trichome head. We're really all about that particular diameter. How's that for a t-shirt? We're really all about that particular diameter. I'd wear it. Not gonna lie. Someone will make it now. This is Hash Church. I'll be getting one of those in the mail in like 3 weeks.
Right, but I got a question mark. Don't you feel that it's strain specific, that different strains will make different resin glands, like the most juicy at different sizes depending on the strain? And I find it so annoying when people just ask me fucking flat general questions about cannabis. How long is that going to take to flower? You know, when should I cut? Should I cut early? Because it's so specific to that variety. Every variety is as unique as a human almost.
And environment as well. There's you know, sun-grown, extreme sun, like in Australia, produces extremely small head in those landrace sativas like the Mullumbimby Madness and other unique Australian strains. The 25 and the 45 micron came in the heaviest and always melted and liquefied the most. And so I was lucky enough back in the day to get quite a bit of it sent to me, so I was able to really understand, like, wow, this is, you know, his 73 was nice. This was way before the 90 bag, but it wasn't the nicest. The bigger the heads got, they lost their whatever they, you know, this in the same way that, see, what I just said really was a generalization for mostly North American strains. Even sativas grown indoors or narrow leaf drug cultivars, if you will, Rob, even though you haven't come into Hash Church for like 5 weeks. I'm not calling you out, Rob, but you better come back, Rob. Seriously. We need you back, man. So narrow leaf drug cultivars are, going to produce still in North America, grown under lights, like 73, 90, 120 are killer. 45 sometimes pretty epic, but trying to find the best, a strain that produces 25 micron that's the best, I've only ever seen it in like extremely hot zones growing huge sativas.
Sativas, yeah.
Or narrow leaf drug cultivars.
My 45s and 25s are horrible, man, because I grow 12 and 12 plus week flowering strains, you know what I mean? It's never really the quality I'm looking for. And hey, Todd, you have a really nice camera, bro. You're coming in really crisp. I don't know what webcam you have, but if you could share it with me on the chat.
We're using the Logitech C920 HD 1080p cam. And it actually does work pretty good. It didn't work good from far away when I was shooting the whole room, but if I sit anywhere near it, it's pretty decent.
Oh yeah, it's proper.
To everyone on Hash Church. Hey, you know, though, you brought something up about harvesting early, and you know, when you look at books like Marijuana Botany, and you really like do a lot of macro photography, and you see the way that the resin builds up in the last 2 to 3 weeks of flowering, I feel that a lot of people that are harvesting early are simply thrown away. a lot of terps, a lot of cannabinoids, a lot of oil content, because they're in such a rush for whatever reason. After 2 weeks like waiting for the plant to root, and however many weeks of vegging it, and then however many 6 or 7 weeks of flowering it, they just can't handle those extra 14 days for it to finish what it needs to do, and they pull it down early. And I honestly think when you start looking at the way it builds up oil, builds up resin, it's really a waste, and I know that like Rob Clark used to say that he liked strains that would flower early, picked early, because then they replicated the heady tropical varieties that we call haze, and he liked those ironically picked late, because the later you pick those tropical varieties, the more heady and psychedelic they became. And now with people in just such a hurry to basically wash the plant, as you put it, I think we're starting to miss a lot of really good nuances that build up in the final weeks. Because, for instance, OG Kush, when it became famous in the 90s, it never had hairs on it. When you got a bag of OG Kush in LA, it was just sticky, green, resiny pot, because they would let it go all the way till it was totally finished. And it had the effect, it had the smell, it had the oils, the stickiness. And I don't know, I just think a lot of growers that are in a rush are just kind of missing the magic that happens in the last couple weeks.
Definitely. So check this out, man. I did it. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I'm just agreeing. I mean, exactly what Todd's saying. I mean, I take everything for those last little legs, and a lot of people that are now doing that are getting better resin, getting better hash, just getting overall better product and learning a lot more. So, exactly what he said.
I want to throw this in too. I think a lot of people are inclined to want to grow quicker plants because, truth be told, when you use soil, we all know that, you go buy some potting soil, and about 6 to 8 weeks into your cycle, that soil is about as useful nutritionally as a brand new block of rock wool that is empty, because you basically use up whatever goodness is there and it becomes a sterile medium. At that point, you have to be a better grower to be able to keep plants going 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, because you've got to have your nutrients right. Because if you start screwing up, if you're a soil grower, after 2 months, the plant is basically relying on you to carry it along the rest of that journey. And a lot of people don't do that well. That's when you see their plants really start fucking up. This one I held up, for instance, technically, this was cut down. This finished. This would be starting its 9th week right now, and this is what it looks like in terms of health. And this is what I'm used to seeing when I'm flowering. I'm used to seeing plants that look fucking as good as they looked the day they went in, all the way through their flowering cycle. And a lot of people, I see their gardens, and I see why they're pulling down early, and a lot of it's because they can't manage what they have all the way into longevity. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of that, because I actually think we're starting to, now that we're getting all into terpenes, that's really when the terps build up. Milo, you grow a lot. What do you think?
No, I think you're right there, because it does depend on the time, and like what Tony said back at the beginning, how sort of juicy you want your buds and your crystals to be. And yeah, you are. It's like a window of opportunity where you can choose and pick your favorite resin. And probably the easiest way of doing it is through the simple magnifying glass and seeing your resin sort of fill up. And it's a beautiful thing.
Well, the way I look at it is like this. I grow cocoa, so to me it's not soil. My soil doesn't it's always needs to be fed and controlled all the time. But when I was doing experiments, I had plants at say week 6, right? And although I had a chest freezer full of fresh frozen material full flowered, I wanted to try different terps. So I grabbed some lowers and I washed, and I realized that hash was really tart. It was very terpy and extremely greasy, and it melted through like the smallest of micron filters when I used to Jamaica on an e-nail, right? I ran that same strain again at week 9. I noticed the colors changed, the tartness of the flavor, like the terp profile completely changed on the same micron, so it matured a little bit. And at that point, although the wash was the same, I noticed that it didn't grease the same. You know what I mean? The week 7 stuff looked like BHO after it was out for a couple days. You couldn't even tell it was hash anymore. Week 9, it was a little, a little tougher. I ran that stuff at week 12, and at that point, the grease was like almost, I'm wanting to say like a shade of purple. It was pretty dark, and the terpene had completely changed. No more tartness to it. It was sweet and cushy. It was, it just changed. Now, in competition, I entered a water hash into the LA Cup, right, week 12, fully mature, because I felt it was like the proper expression of the terpene. It was, well grown. But when I was looking at a judge's kit, man, and I saw my hash, it had greased out dark. The majority of the other entries were very light after they had greased up. Like if they had been ran early, you know what I mean? You could tell some of them very preemie because the actual full melt had greased to a point where it just looked like BHO. Others not so much, but the color of the resin was just, noticeably lighter in warmer temperatures. So I think it's more for consistency. Why a true hash maker would even cut something down early, thinking on a higher caliber scale, and not so much the people that are just cutting stuff down at week 7 because their grow flops. You know what I mean?
Well, I would like to say there are a lot of reasons people are bringing stuff down early. Really, they're having powdery mildew problems indoors. They have bug problems outdoors. They have fucking, I hate to say there's an ugly world behind growing. Anyone that really grows knows the frustration. And, truth be told, the reason solvent, as we'll call it, hash is becoming so popular is because people are blasting everything. Moldy plants are getting blasted and turned into prize-winning shatter because the butane doesn't pick up the mold like water does. It's a non-polar solvent, so to speak, whereas water is technically a polar solvent. It's pulling a lot of the stuff we really don't want. It's pulling the mold, the chlorophyll, the waxes, a lot of the stuff we would rather leave behind. And what you cannot process with water is being processed with gas. There's no question.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, it's more of you have to mess with the hash makers organizations that are doing it right. You know what I mean? You definitely don't want to deal with people that have material that's moldy. And even to stand at that, bro, I know exactly what you're saying as a grower. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and over here you have to be really clean and battle and select particular strains that are, not susceptible to botrytis. We have to take certain measures against PM because it grows, on foliage outside everywhere. So definitely, man, you have to be a good grower to prevent that stuff from your garden. But
the thing is, though, is it's a vegetable plant. I mean, we're talking about vegetable material all day long, and a lot of people don't know that when you smell ammonia in a bag of cannabis, it's rotting. That's one of the first signs that vegetable material is going rancid on you, and you should actually discard it. A lot of people don't know how to pick up these scents. They think, oh, it's cat piss. We'll call it cat piss. No, guys, that is not urine. It is actually ammonia, and it's because your lettuce is rotting in your bag. And a lot of people don't know how things work in the simplest of terms. I mean, I really think that if people started looking really, really close at what they were making, we're all going to demand higher levels now. We're all going to demand quality over quantity all day long. And I mean, that's really where I think this whole conversation is going, and hopefully continues to go with regulation and such. Because, people like Tony and others, Kenny, you're going to step in and do it really, really, really right. And others are going to have to step up and follow their mark because you're going to be selling against them. And sorry, they'll become Coca-Cola when others become stuff you never even heard about,
Yeah. Hey, and let me tell you, here in Washington, because of that same concern, so much material that is, infected one way or another gets processed, they're actually paying a lot of attention to, like, aspergillus, for example, in water hash. They're testing microbial and fungus or whatever on the hash on analytical, and it's becoming almost like a standard. Who has the lowest count of pathogens in the hash or whatever? What methods are they taking to ensure that the water is clean? Are they running it through UV, filters, and so on and so forth, man? And to be honest, what I've heard from the techs is about 60% of the hash that gets tested fails or has higher than desirable mold count. And this is from proper hash makers. So it's definitely something that has come into focus here in Washington. Definitely. If you're putting your stuff on the shelf, man, everybody has aspergillus in the back of their mind.
That's so honest, man. I mean, and this is what people aren't really talking about. I mean, honestly, if you started looking down at these, at whole raw cannabis samples, the same way, what people seem to miss sometimes when they're in their race for THC quantity and terpene content is the fact that a lot of this testing started because we were afraid of pesticides, growth hormones, and stuff, we can't even know being sprayed onto flowers that we smoke. And the only way we could really see those things is if we had them tested for these contaminants. That was our first priority in testing in California. It wasn't really a race to high cannabinoid levels. It was a race to clean medicine.
Yeah, and so I sat down with a hash maker from California, processes a lot of material. I'll keep his name out of the video chat to not call anybody out. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, bro, since you process a lot, bro, what do you think about aspergillus? Is that like a big concern down there? He's like, man, nobody really cares about that here. We call it like an organic extraction. If they were to test for aspergillus, I bet the majority of my stuff would fail because I run so much outdoor. And I'm there like, wow, bro. That's crazy. There's standards here in Washington when it comes to that shit, dude. And it would be nice to see it implemented all around on concentrates. It would definitely, that's like what Mark was talking about, setting the bar higher. Test your medicine for molds, like people test for butane on oil.
Well, just like when you go to the supermarket, you don't expect to pick up a brand new bag of bagels that has mold in it. And you don't expect to go down to your local cannabis store, pick up some mortar hash that the guy didn't cure right, that molded up in the jar, sitting there waiting for you to buy it. But it's happening across clubs across the country right now, all over the place. And as what Mark's doing here and bringing this community together, I think is so important because as more people become basically engaged and informed, and they can see and they go, hey, I heard Mark say that I should look out for XYZ, bubble hash, or this doesn't make it that. It's really good because where else do we get this information now other than if we don't share it with each other? So
back in the day, like freedom of information is a big thing because back in the day, we never used to be able to have a medium like this where we could communicate and people such as Bubbleman getting us all together and speaking, and so it's very forward, I remember like old times when we used to just it was just difficult to get things and difficult to get information, and then also difficult for the person to release it or tell you his secret because he didn't want you sort of having success from it. So, I'm so happy to be living in a modern world these days and having a good medium, and knowledge and sharing information. And that's how it's going to bring the community forward.
Well, you know what? I totally agree with you, Milo. I come from a background of martial arts. I started studying Okinawan Uechi-ryu when I was 12 with a deaf guy. My karate instructor was deaf, and I stayed with him till I left the state. And there's a camaraderie that's taught in kickboxing and stuff. And you could get into a kickboxing match and get my ass whooped. That dude would fucking stand over me, help me out, pat my back off, fucking, compliment me to try to do better next time. And that was the way that we developed. And I've seen, beautiful kind of games developing in the sense of X Games has this mentality. UFC has this mentality. I happen to be, lucky enough to know Joe Rogan, and we'll go drinking with those dudes that just kicked each other's ass in the minute, ago, and they're out drinking, having a great time because, it's really, they are such professionals. They have such a great attitude about it, and I only hope that, cannabis moves away from the 50s mentality of football, baseball, basketball, rah, my team, bullshit, your team, and moves into this X Games, UFC mentality of that we all can do well. We can all be competing with ourselves, it doesn't have to be a race against each other and the other person doesn't have to suck. We can all do our best and bring each other up. And I really hope that that's where this community kind of goes towards, kind of an X Games mentality of, hey, we can all be in this together. And at least that's where, my heart comes from.
Yeah, sure.
With the more, it definitely, I think, is going that way with podcasts and video chats and people asking, questions that that they weren't able to before, and getting answers from, you know, people like Tony or so on and so forth. It's becoming that way, man. I actually look forward to the chance to be able to talk. You know what I mean? Like, I look forward to podcasts on Wednesday, or look forward to Hash Church, just to be able to, like, share info or hear and learn. And like Big Buddha was saying, bro, back in the day it wasn't like that. When you were growing and there was charges involved, you would be scared to even go on the web and type certain words. You know what I mean? It was very, very low key. And I'm just glad that's changing, man. The prohibition mentality is going away.
Remember the 90s?
Yeah, bro.
The 90s?
I remember being scared to have a .5 in my pocket.
No, the 90s were great. I just kept getting busted.
Yeah.
They had no tolerance for me in the 90s.
In the 90s, I had a computer in my room, and I was growing, and I used to unplug the computer when I wasn't using it, and then because I was paranoid that they could hack into the computer.
Tony, when I moved to Amsterdam, all the guys, like old school, like Sam the Skunkman, would unplug their phones from the wall, because back then Echelon was all known all over Europe, and you go to your friends' houses and their home phones, fuck cell phones, their home phones would be unplugged because they didn't have cell phones, and they only plug them in to make a goddamn call, and then they unplug the phone so you couldn't call them. You go over there and knock, why didn't you use phone? Man, the phone's unplugged. You know, the CIA's listening to everything we say. And I was like, holy shit. Turns out everyone was talking about that, because the Amsterdam newspapers ran these basically articles talking about these data, like, gathering centers all over Europe that were grabbing only every phone call that you made out of Europe. I'm sure Milo remembers this. Were they doing it in the UK too?
Yeah, there was, mate. I used to have meetings with people, and I used to speak like this, because with their hands covered in their mouth, and I was like, oh. But for sure, everything's being logged, everything's being recorded. No,
I moved because somebody went on the internet and looked up high times in the 90s. Somebody looked something up on my computer, and I had to break my whole grow down and move.
Dude,
I was like, I can't believe you went on the internet and looked something up, like, to somebody, like, in the 90s.
No way, Tony, for real? That's hardcore, brother.
Tony, you get the award for most paranoid of the bunch, because I had a pot leaf over my gate in cold time, actually, in '97. So
did you keep getting busted though?
No, I was gonna say the most paranoid, but served the least time.
You know what though, guys? I hate to say it. You know, this whole journey's been fun. I've had more fun, and no discrediting your paranoia, Tony. It's got you where you are today. But you know what? Fuck it. You know, prison was actually a good time. I read a lot of books. I made friends. You know, I'm glad I was bold rather than being scared, because you know what? There's that old saying, I'd rather live my life standing than on my knees. And I don't do well in a scared situation. If that was me, I'm sure cancer would have kicked my ass as a child. But I think genetically I'm a little fighter on a cellular level. So fuck them. I'm gonna put pot leaves over my gates forever, I think. Fucking. But look where we are now.
Yes, I just actually came from being downstairs. I was gonna try to bring him up. I just met Reed, a local Jamaican constabulary, and I spoke with him in
wearing a bulletproof vest.
Wearing a bulletproof vest with a 45 or whatever on his front here. And I was asking him what he thought about the ganja
This was going
laws.
on the whole time while he was gone. While I was looking down and around.
The whole time I was down, I was right down there interviewing this guy. I asked him what he thought about cannabis and how it affected the people in Jamaica, or whether it affected crime. And, he had an interesting perspective on it. He definitely looked at it a little bit more like kind of equal with alcohol. So there's a strong standpoint here still that there's a belief, he said, that people are going to be just smoking cannabis and doing nothing. And inside I was like, well, what's wrong with that? That's pretty great. In an overproductive world, it's not so bad if a few people just want to smoke some cannabis and not really do anything. But I was happy that he shared his opinion with me, and I shared mine with him. I was going to invite him up here, but I just didn't in the end. I thought
that's probably good.
The Mothership and the Torch might have been a bit too much.
I don't want to
you guys think though that that whole misnomer about low energy donors not working and stuff is bullshit? because if you start smoking the stuff I have, you'll be waking up early and working on silly, huge projects just like me in no time. And, you know, I just think it's the chemistry of the plant that has to be better understood, because when I went to Amsterdam and I stumbled upon strains like haze, they certainly don't make me tired or make me, you know, at all non-motivated, although I have strains that do.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
it's just the majority of them do, and it's the few that don't, and it's the few that don't that I hope more people tune into, because I think it's, you know, look at you, Mark. You are so productive. So overly productive, and you smoke all the time.
Hell yeah!
Ever since I've known you, constantly burning. Really. If he's awake, he's pretty much smoking.
I mean, I think that there's
done or gonna do a dab.
I think there's definitely.
Mark, how come you look so young as well? I'm sure you're like nearly 50 now, aren't you, bro?
How come I look so young?
Yeah.
Well, the trick is, Keith Richards actually turned me on to this place in Switzerland where you can have all the blood removed out of your body. Just joking.
That's weird.
Never heard of that?
The
Keith Richards says it's so young.
What were we just talking about? Oh yeah, smoking a lot. The I think that there's certain people that what I would call the functioning from our generation, the functioning pothead, if you will. I think there's a certain point where like your body, certain people like function better, just as a whole.
It's like waking up with coffee. I mean, I was talking to Ariel, who you guys will see on the videos from the conference. She was the tall girl that was working at our booth. She was saying the same thing, that she really prefers to wake up with a spliff. You know, she has a spliff and she just like gets her whole day going, and it's not necessarily that stereotype that Todd was talking about earlier, where it's just you know, you hit the dude with a pipe and then it's just like lay back and do nothing for quite some time. Although I will say there was a part of my life, right when I was quite, you know, teenager, going to 20s, when I was extremely like on the hustle to try and work, and then suddenly I started, you know, smoking more, and then it was like there really was like a couple year timeline where I literally was just like really, I mean, it was that time in my life too, but I was not doing much. I was relaxing. It was almost like it was slowing my inner clock down and gearing me up for that sort of being able to consume cannabis throughout my day without being affected the way most people are by it anyway.
Well, you know, I got a thought on that, because, you know, I've had people comment about the new dab culture and how everybody's dabbing so much and this and that, and I think, what if these guys and these girls that are dabbing have a huge advantage on the rest of society, because now we're learning that the cannabinoids and terpenes are so medically beneficial on so many levels, on a cellular level, that these kids, we'll call them, that are flooding their body with dabs all day may actually be healthier, making better judgment calls, able to have clearer mindsets, because their bodies are getting healthier than the people that are just swilling down sugar-filled coffee Javas from Starbucks, sucking on a cigarette, and heading in to go smoke some fucking tobacco Budweiser after they get off of work. I mean, when you think of our bodies as chemical sponges, I mean, realistically, I think the chemicals that are legal slow us down, make us slow, lethargic, and stupid, and keep us sick. Now, the ones that they're trying to prohibit, it's turning out scientifically, oh, they cure our cancers, they help us with our pain, they help us with our glaucoma. Oh, it turns out they're good for a whole lot of things. Oh, and then if you go press the hemp seed, it'll probably make you the healthiest humans on the planet, because if you go look at Bama, China, where those people are living to be into their hundreds, they're the largest group community on the planet that lives to be centurions, that actually live to be over 100 and still actively working. And when science for the last decades have been trying to figure out what caused it, they couldn't figure it out. They say it's the air, it's the water. If you go look up Bama, China, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's really the fact that they've been eating hemp seed for generations upon generations, because when you look at hemp scientifically, it's the perfect protein, it's the perfect EFA. you start putting that into your body, we could all be much healthier. And this is why I'm thinking that kids that are now literally filling their bodies up with cannabinoids may be in a lot better shape in the years to come. I'd love to hear what you guys think about heavy use of cannabis, either dabbed, water.
Well, I think the one thing, it's hard to say how much. We seem to know that the regulation occurs the best through, or the modulation. The most efficiency comes from oral consumption for saturating one's endocannabinoid system. I assume that through the fact that no one seems to have shrunk their brain tumors by smoking dabs or joints, but they can consume those dabs orally, and it seems to work a little bit better. But what I would say is that someone that's smoking that much is definitely still getting cannabinoids in, guaranteed. They're going into their bloodstream and into their brain. But more importantly, they're learning. They're more inspired to learn about, start creating orals, learning about the endocannabinoid system. Like I always am reminded of Paul Stamets when he gets up to speak. If you've ever seen Paul Stamets speak, brilliant speaker, and he always kind of goes up there and he's like, well, everything I'm about to say, I learned from the mushroom. Everyone before him's like bragging about the prestigious university they graduated from with all their degrees and stuff, and Paul's just like, I learned everything I learned from the mushroom. So I think there's a lot to be said in a statement like that. Same even with just a relationship with cannabis that goes to the point where you're using it throughout your day, almost every day. You're using it to enhance music. You're using it as a tool. You build a relationship, and obviously you get things out of that relationship. And I think the learning about how to better heal yourself, how to better saturate your endocannabinoid system, those things come from that.
Yeah, I got a comment on that.
Oh, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, so I would say that you're comparing sugar, or comparing alcohol, or comparing concentrated forms of those things, or coffee, as young kids are developing. What the comparison would be, we have to study that for a long time. I think that you're right. If you did study it and looked at it, you'd find that it's probably not as bad as that in the long-term effects. But what I can tell you, that high concentration of THC in a very rare population of people can cause what's called cannabinoid hypothermia, or a condition in which, because you've oversaturated, and there'll probably be more information about this saturation receptor and how this works, but
Hey, Mark, you muted yourself. Tony, I can't hear Tony.
Jesus.
Okay. One of the things I wanted...
what was the last thing you heard? Because this is important.
It was only about a sentence in. You were saying that you agree with the fact that kids are basically saturating themselves with nicotine, sugars, bad fat.
Yep, so if you looked at all that and compared it, you'd probably be right. However, there's certain things that we haven't discovered yet, and there's saturation receptors that will come forth in us studying the ECS. And so what happens is, though, when kids, young kids, there's a small percentage, 1%, that'll develop a cannabinoid hypothermia condition in which they feel like they have to bathe or they have to be in water. It's dehydrating, they can't eat, they have anxiety. And what that's caused is from high concentrations of THC, literally causing a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system, and the fact that it will stop producing. So it starts to rely on the fact that there's heavy concentrations of THC in the body, if we're talking about smoking it. And so it kind of starts to shut down sections of that. So when we talk about full spectrum absorption of cannabinoids, and you talked about hemp seed oil and the 369 and the EFA, having the essential fatty acids and everything like that, I think that's good in a healthy dose, and I think it's good to have the full spectrum orally consumed. So when we were talking about, and that's why I've pushed so hard on the prana situation, is saying, hey, pure plant profile, taking, you know, a full THCA dose.
We lost you again, Mark.
Right away when I started tapping. I can't do anything. I'll just let you talk. A full CBD dose, you were there.
Yeah. Okay. So when you can get a full spectrum dose, so if you're digesting the pure plant profile, all the terpenes, flavonoids, medicinal cannabinoids, you're getting it in raw form, raw concentrated form, and that's why I pushed so hard to try to develop the prana, was that I could have a morning, a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner that literally covered your THCA with your sativas, your ICBDA, so your CBD-rich strains to low THC, combining like 4 or 5, and then having a 1-to-1 balance between CBD and THC, even if it's activated. I usually would do activated, so then you're getting your raw THCA, your raw CBDA, and you're getting the 1-to-1, and then the P4 is a CBD to CBN. So if you're gonna,
Tony, can I just pause you for a minute?
Yeah.
When you start talking about getting up in the morning and using your cannabinoids, like you'd be popping vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K in how many milligrams, it's taken this to a whole other level, because now it's acknowledging the differences in the sense that we need these, man, because that was a joke. One of my friends did comedy used to call it vitamin M, you know, but for marijuana. And you're breaking it down into it being literally vitamin THCA, you know, and I vibe that on so many levels. I mean, to have a little moment of like me being, or when I went to prison, I self-surrendered in January of 2000, and just after that, you might remember in February, Complutense University released the first study saying that they were killing glioma using THC, and I read that and I tripped out a little bit, because I was, it made me realize, man, what if I had been keeping my variety of cancer I had at bay just by my heavy use of cannabis, just by me having cannabinoids in my system, if that put my particular disease in check and caused me to be healthy. And I actually wrote to one of my doctor friends and asked him what his opinion was about if I had abstained for 5 years from using any cannabinoids, could that cause my disease to reoccur? You know, and it seemed like an honestly decent question to ask a Harvard doctor. And he wrote me back saying, unfortunately, we'll never know, because your particular disease is very understudied. It's considered an orphan disease because so few people get it. But he said, but it could well be what you are, what your suspicion is, which is I went into remission when I started using cannabinoids in my body. I stopped using cannabinoids, and I was afraid I'd get sick again, if you will. And now if we can actually use cannabinoids, if it's really helping these kids and checking people's cancer, then really what we're seeing now, 15 freaking years later, is what I was worried about happening. And it's really the reason, and people might find this unsettling, I smoked cannabis all the way through prison, because I was faced with the situation of realizing, shit, and now that I've gone and self-surrendered and I'm in their fucking prison, if I actually follow their rules and I walk out of here with cancer again, I've freaking really lost this battle. But if I just stay strong, smoke weed all the way, deal with going to the hole, and walk out of here cancer-free, I can still run my life. And isn't that more important than following their rules and being paranoid even while I'm in the belly of the beast? So that's what I did. And I think now there's a trigger, because I used to, when I'd smoke weed, obviously I didn't get it in, 2-gram joint doses. I got it in much smaller amounts, but I would still feel the effects. And much the way now that even though I'm fucking dabbing like mad, the more I have, it kind of adjusts the effect down. Like cannabis will mute the effects of the cannabinoids and allow people to have the medical effect of it, if this makes sense. Like LV Musica gets weed from the federal government. She smokes constantly, it helps her glaucoma, but she really doesn't seem high all day. You couldn't do that with drinking. If Jack Daniels was what she used to help her glaucoma, she'd be sloshed by 6 o'clock. But she smokes, from 8 a.m. all the way till she passes out, and she's as clear as a bell. And this is where I'm wondering if saturating our bodies with cannabinoids is really having an ultra beneficial effect physiologically in our systems that we can't express scientifically just yet, because we're just learning about this stuff now.
I agree with that, and I think you need more than just THC to see that benefit, and combine that with the hemp oil, like you were talking about, for a nutritional aspect and for protein. Like I use hemp protein, I like a hemp tofu. There's hemp essential oils. Like I use a 7 essential oil for EFAs and stuff like that. But if you combine the two, I think it's good, and I think that I think that science will show down the road that there's different receptors for different cannabinoids and combinations of them. So THC has a specific lock and key. It also has a psychotropic effect. We have things built in there. And so I think we definitely build up a tolerance to the THC side. But, and I think that if you oversaturate THC in certain people that I've seen, like I said, a very, very small percentage. And if the education's out there enough so people look at it so they don't compare it to alcohol or sugar or something like that, because it's not something that can, you're going to eat a whole bunch of or smoke a whole bunch of, and it's going to cause like these side effects of death or like these obesity or another disease. Like if you just ate sugar all the time, or if you
renal failure,
if you were smoking cigarettes all the time, you'd have cardiac.
Generally, the side effects are euphoria.
The side effects, we haven't studied them all the way, but that's saying that's the one I've seen before, and that's in youth. That's in like 12 to 18-year-old kids that are dabbing, a gram a day because they think it's cool, and they cause. What happens is once they stop doing that, their endocannabinoid system has been relying on such a flux of that they then go into this weird withdrawal. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, Tony. I dab like mad, and I just miss my weed when I don't have it. You don't have no cannabinoid withdrawal syndrome.
Yeah, but no, I've actually seen five patients that way, and I know for a fact that's happened. So I've seen them bathe like mermaids, the same exact condition where they feel they need to be surrounded by water. And there's conditions that can happen when you're doing that, and that's what I think is explaining that, is because there will be a small percentage, and if you oversaturate that system, not you, not me, not 99 point whatever percent it is, but there's definitely a small percentage of people where their system's shut down, and doctors are pulling up articles about it and researching things like that. So it's a concern in Colorado for sure. It's been 5 already.
Well, Tony, I had a question because I noticed you guys mentioning like using hemp protein and a lot of things supplementary. I am hyper allergic to hemp protein. Yeah. When I put that in my stomach, I might as well have just swallowed knives.
Yeah.
And I'm hyper allergic to weed. It's actually been a really bad week for allergens, and it goes up and down depending on the strain and the grow and certain phenomenon I'm noticing. But I actually had 2 questions, so I kind of wanted to forget that because my main question was I have a new patient, which is a child with brain tumors, and everybody comes from the standard literature. The parent comes and, oh, I need a gram a day, and I'm like, I'm not letting you give any child a gram a day when you have no idea what. Everyone's looking for milligrams, and I've noticed different inconsistencies in when people are trying to, you could say, standardize either by volume or whatever else is the case. But when I actually looked into, the Prana-line diagram, I'm like, holy shit, Tony, there's nothing it doesn't seem like there's any, dominant, pretty much commercial weed, the one you're going to typically get. There's no use for it in an activated form for tumors. The Prana-line has it inactive for the THC-A therapy, and all the other therapies either have it inactive in a CBD 1:1 or 3:1 ratio, and then the last one has it active. So it actually, I was wondering, I'm like, is this the time, do I go and do I fight and contradict the standard system of people expecting to basically be wasted for, a 3-month period or whatever they need to go through their recovery? Like, is there a cultural now mindset that if there's no effects, that there's nothing happening, and therefore how do you gauge the dose? Because now I'm worried if I present, no, I'm giving you this in an inactive form, and you're not going to get high. The person, they're actually going to feel like they're not doing what everyone's doing, which is how it's supposed to work.
Right. So, well, let me finish the one thought. I just want to make sure, because I know most people don't like hearing the thing that I said about that, and I wouldn't say that. And I just think that side effects, even if that's the case, and that's, let's say someone that's taking 500 a day, someone that's taking 1,000 to 500 milligrams. It's important because this leads into what you were just saying. So if somebody was smoking 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day, and there was under 1% of that population that has a reaction to that, you know, it's not a bad thing to identify with, because considering still all the other side effects of even sugar or nicotine or anything else is huge. You know, so I'm not trying to say that there's bad side effects, but there's definitely some things that need to be studied that we don't know about, and there's, just like there's great things that could come from it, there's other discoveries that will for sure come from that, because not everybody's built the same way. So that leads into what you just asked me. So for our cancer program, what I did with that chart, and I'm going to update the chart, and that's a good observation that you noticed, was if you start off looking at, say, a Rick Simpson oil or something that's THC based, and you work up to eating 1 gram a day, you have to look at the extraction itself and what the percentage is, and depending on how good the quality is, it could be 400 milligrams up to 800 milligrams a day. If somebody's eating 2 grams a day, they could be up to 1,500 milligrams a day. Now, if you're taking it in its active form, it doesn't mean you're going to not feel non-active version. It's still medicine. You still feel it. You just don't have the psychotropic effect, and you don't have the chemical reaction that's still there that's happening when you activate or decarboxylate THC and then eat it. So when you digest it and it goes through your liver, it's kind of getting stuck there, and it has to process that. So the capsules and the sublinguals actually bypass that into the lymphatic system, and so it's something that isn't binding to a sugar. I'm not using sugar. I'm not using it like an edible to go through the liver in that sense. I'm using it in an essential fat and a plant fat that absorbs into the body very quickly. And so what I'm trying to do is cover the spread. And so actually for cancer patients, that's why I have 5s, 10s, 20s, 50 milligram capsules, is because I do a full spectrum, P1 through P4. So I do a P1, 5 milligram, a P2, 5 milligram for lunch. I do a P3 activated for dinner time, and then I do a P4, which is the activated CBD and CBN. So if you actually took 5s, 10s, 20s, and slowly started stacking your dosages each week, that's part of my stacking program, utilizing inactives, anactives, and decarboxylated cannabinoids in a daily dose. Yeah. So what I would do with, so it doesn't matter about the milligrams. What it matters about is the patient and you stacking and utilizing it in a non-abrasive way. So it would be 20 milligrams on the day, then it would be 40, then it would be 80. Then it would be 120, and you slowly build those up, and that takes several weeks. So in the process of 3 months, you're already going to be building up to 200 or 300 or 400 milligrams a day by the 1st or 2nd month. And so what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be going to the hospital, you're doing your checkups, you're going to be running scans, you're going to be doing all kinds of tests to see if anything's helping. And generally, that's when you're finding out what's helping. And so you keep stacking that. Depends on the person, if it's a child versus an adult. I think if you're not worried, if you're going through the system in which we're doing, you're able to absorb a lot more medicine a lot quicker than eating an edible or smoking or anything like that. So essentially, I'm not seeing patients get past 400, 500, 600 milligrams. If somebody has metastatic breast, bone, liver cancer, brain cancer,
you need to give it your all. You need to stack up to 800 milligrams. If you're a child and you're 6 months old, obviously you wouldn't be at 800 milligrams a day. You'd be surprised how fast the youth works. I think that there's something there with kids that haven't gone through puberty yet. It seems like a lot of the children that have not developed the adult hormone system seem to respond to cannabinoids a lot quicker. I've seen kids pull out of things with brain tumors and cancer, epilepsy, autism, things that they just don't have answers for. And the smallest amount of microdosing of these types of sequencing and cannabinoids, kind of like we were talking about vitamins, seems to make dramatic differences in children versus adults. Very interesting.
All right. So I guess my last question is, so if I'm in a situation, and you've got to understand, most parents not in, you could even say America, are in a situation where they're just scrambling for how they're going to get the plant material and find someone to process it in a manner that, agrees with their ethic. The person found me because the biggest concern they had was after, 70 weeks of chemotherapy, the last thing they want is a product that is processed with butane. And that's just a matter of their belief system. So I looked at it and I'm like, well, this is severe. It's the subtle tumor that basically forms a ton of root hairs but never develops an actual root that they can remove through surgery. So I'm like, okay, well, we have the material hunt to try to even identify strain or, consistent cannabinoid profile that we can say, all right, let's base it on this. But if I start poking holes in the prana system, and is my biggest concern, I'm like, okay, I know I could possibly source a 1-to-1 to create that aspect of the program, but the 3-to-1 is going to be harder to source, and there's always financial limitations with parents. So I'm looking at what is my best solution for a cancer when all the other things that you have access to aren't accessible for somebody. Should they just be going for...
Can I ask a question, Horatio? Is the patient a cannabis user?
No.
Okay.
That's usually the thing. I'm usually interacting with people with no cannabis experience and a high cannabis prejudice.
It's my recommendation that they just need to increase cannabinoid content in their bodies systemically by any and all means possible. And if that's by edibles, it's by sublinguals, patches, whatever, they just need to increase the amount of cannabinoids that are in their system systemically, and hope that, again, systemically it's at the level going to impact at the area where there's the tumor. Because remember that cannabinoids have many different mechanisms by which they inhibit tumor growth. Most notably, they're pro-apoptotic, which means that they promote programmed cell death, but they also inhibit tumor angiogenesis and are anti-proliferative. So really, these things just need to be increased in their level in the patient systemically throughout the body, however they can get it in there. Suckers, whatever. I think Tony's absolutely right, because if it's sublingual delivery like a cough drop, you're bypassing digestion in the gut, which, remember, is very concentrated acid, which typically is going to take CBD and convert it to other cannabinoids. So it's already been shown that gastric juice, similar to the pH of stomach juice, will convert CBD to THC delta 8 and a couple other different cannabinoids.
Yeah, and that kind of gets into, there's a lot of science that has been hindered over the past several decades just due to a lack of ability to do the science. Coming from a family of doctors, one of the hardest things for a lot of the patient's doctors to accept is taking raw herbs and incorporating them into a scientific methodology that can be reproducible. Most doctors' primary concern, and all the doctors that I talk to, is they can't follow their patient's dosage over X period of time. As we develop all the products and actually have legal regulated markets so that we can start developing these products, all of us will be able to develop different products that could be specifically designed for individual conditions. It even goes so far as treating a couple different cancers a couple different ways. It's a lot of times when we do have patients that are new to cannabis, a lot of times, especially the baby boomers who didn't smoke when they were in college, a lot of them kind of have objections to the oral inhalation of cannabis smoke just due to the health applications. Being able to introduce it to them, like Mark said, sublingually, so that you can avoid the acid hydrolysis of THC and CBD down. You want to actually introduce different phytocannabinoids throughout the day, where we know that CBD has anti-proliferative effects, whereas THC has apoptotic effects. But a lot of the patients don't want to consume THC in the morning. So part of the reason why the P3 line actually has THC in the later numbers is because then you can give those to the patients in the afternoon or evening, whereas the CBD, which has less psychoactivity, could help the body decrease proliferation of the cancer earlier in the day. Ultimately, you do want a broad spectrum, especially if they haven't been consuming. If they're worried about the psychoactivity of cannabis, obviously, fresh juicing cannabis is a great way to introduce, primarily acids. Otherwise, there's a lot of ways that you can cold extract tinctures out of dry sieves, and that'll kind of preserve the THCA or CBDA, but still kind of get that THC that'll kind of exhibit anti-proliferative and apoptotic cancer effects.
Yeah, so that's really good that you recognize that. And so there's ways to do that. Like in the Prana program, I use juice every morning. The P1's THCA, so that's breakfast. The P2's a high CBDA, so that's lunch. And then the P3, like you said, is a one-to-one. I really activate that. Or like if you wanted to look at the full spread, and then the P4, which is CBD and CBN. And I did that because of what you said. And so that's also tied into a software for doctors. So that's what we've been working on, so that way they can actually track all that. So, that's been the goal, and it's trying to standardize phytocannabinoids, cannabinoids, put them into a standard delivery method that doctors and physicians can look at and say, okay, we feel comfortable with that, and let's try to now mix match these sublinguals or capsules and see where that provides. So there's 40 or 50 programs that have been developed after seeing a lot of patients, and now we need to take it to the science level and say, okay, we're going to genome map this strain, we're going to test this. We're going to test this in clinicals on human and test these particular conditions. So ultimately, I always tell Bubbleman it's like a guitar or a piano, just trying to establish the first 12 chromatic notes so that we can start developing music from that. And so that's where those charts come from, is applying sequencing charts. So not only could you do that like P1, 2, 3, 4 throughout the day, you could maybe do a 1-to-1-to-1. So if you took 2 drops of the P4 first thing in the morning for PTSD and then THCA, so now utilize from multiple amounts of.
Tell Mark to stop breaking it.
Go ahead. So anyway, yeah, it's just finding those combinations. And so if you had to substitute and you didn't have access to that, that's what I've had, most of my life. So that's the challenge. So if somebody was in a location, you could juice 25 leaves a day. If you didn't have access to 25 leaves a day, you could do 10 leaves. But it's like Mark said, you just need to get as much cannabinoids, acid form, raw form. If you had hash, you can eat hash. You don't have to cook it. You can eat that as that's THCA. So trichomes, dry sift, it's THCA. You know, you just got to get a combination of things into your body throughout the day. So like what John does and what Bubbleman was doing with coconut oils or decarboxylating CBD material. You could create CBN by taking those same by taking the leaves off a plant, drying them out, and heating them up, just like you do kale chips.
Right. Yeah.
You could grind that up. So there's ways to create CBN from small plant material. But you know, trying to get raw juice, trying to get raw THC into the body, and then trying to mix in nighttime activation and nighttime decarboxylation techniques is, you know, you start there. That would be that's how I look at the best spread possible, instead of just one-dimensional approach with one strain of just THC oil.
Well, no, I mean, that's why I'm looking for a triage program for medics in the field. We all know what the ultimate options are when you grow everything on your own. It's when I'm looking at the programs that people are being offered, when the person finally decides we'd like to try cannabis therapy, they don't realize they're at the bottom of a completely different hunt. And if they accept, you know, I hear things like, well, there's a $6,000 program where you get X amount of syringes, and I'm like, whoa, you could totally go through that whole program and be on the wrong foot. When I'm looking at, that's why I was looking at it from a triage standpoint. I'm like, okay, we all know we could theoretically create the P1, anything high THC, but I started to think, well, for the daytime, he could take the shatter version and swallow that. And I could then look into the plant sterol esters that I could buy to make that into a more sublingual product, and then give him the normal oil version for night. And therefore gives them some ability to control, you know, the getting high aspect for an 11-year-old.
Yeah, what particularly complicates brain cancer is that not everything that's in the body systemically crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so that's a problem because, again, remember that decarboxylation is absolutely essential in activation for the psychotropic effects, and primarily so it can get through the blood-brain barrier and bind to one receptor in the brain. So for like solid brain tumors or like blastoglioma that's in the brain itself, where the cannabinoids have to actually make it through the blood-brain barrier, it's very, very dicey to say that anything orally taken will make it to where it needs to go. It has to be absorbed systemically, like through smoke when you're absorbing it in the mucosa, or when you're dabbing in the mucosa, you're increasing it in the bloodstream in the active form so that it's leaking into the brain at that particular point, but pretty soon it's going to be, you know, throughout the body, and it's going to be metabolized to those more polar metabolites, Tony, and never make it through the blood-brain barrier.
Well, I don't agree with that. You're saying a sublingual doesn't make it.
No. I'm not saying that at all. Sublingual is absolutely the way to go because you're getting it into the bloodstream without going through the digestive system. But I'm saying like smoking or inhaling a vaporized concentrate into the mucosa, into the brain, or into the head. When you pull a dab, I mean you're super saturating this tissue that has ultrafine capillaries that are able to absorb the cannabinoids in their active form. And again, I don't have any clinical data to show you or share with you. Hopefully we'll have that someday. But I do believe that that's going to create a larger burst of cannabinoids into the brain versus a sublingual delivery.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this goes because I feel like there's receptors in the digestive system, on the skin, and in the brain. These different receptors have to be pinged So I'm more about massaging and turning those receptors on instead of blasts of one-dimensional cannabinoids. But it will be interesting to see, because in our clinical studies we're going to be doing smoking versus oral, sublinguals, and smoking versus capsules. So that's the first thing I'm actually doing. So we're going to find out.
Yeah, and I think that not all vaporization, I think the volcano is completely different than a dab. Completely different. You're going to get a completely different profile of terps. And, you know, we were talking before about, I think it was, we were talking about the sedating effects. A lot of the studies show that that's myrcene related, that the terpene myrcene in particular is one terpene that's implicated in the sedating effects of, say, like an indica or like a kush versus the, you know, bright feeling that you get from like a more, a different strain like a sativa.
The feeling you get when you hang out under a mango tree on a beautiful Jamaican afternoon.
Exactly.
So, so that's also what goes into consideration for terpene profiles for like the P3 would utilize indica-based strains that have that particular terpene. And then when I was talking about curing terpenes, the same thing with the P4. So it's your starting material, you know. And I agree with what you're saying. It's going to be interesting to see what the studies produce, and I have a feeling that you'll be one of those guys that wants to be on the clinical dab team to make sure that the dabs that are administered.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the ideas we're looking at right now is targeted to delivery across the blood-brain barrier through nanoparticle formulation. This technology is already known in drug delivery technology. It hasn't been used for cannabinoids, but I think now is a great time to try it. So to use particles like a Trojan horse to get it through the blood-brain barrier, and then on the other side it will reveal its contents as a way to get cannabinoids into the brain.
Yeah, I think the you're going to see. I think the future is where people are still catching on to medical use of cannabis, and whether it's inhalation, oral. The next level beyond pharmaceutical would be regenerative, and that's where I was telling you about our scientists that discovered stem cells, and that's where our conversations have gone, is utilizing different types of nanotechnologies and different things that instead of saying, okay, take 40 dabs in a row, or take all these capsules, or take all these sublinguals to try to help your brain tumor, it's how do we once we find out what actually helps, how do we then implement that into the brain? So they'll be regenerative and more like things used in surgery, I think you'll see. Maybe even the fact when we print 3D print organs, right, the salines and the things that have to bind inside those organs when they put back into your body. Weird things that I think will...
I would only add that for those of you listening and hearing about nanotechnology and want to kind of learn more about that, I would Google a guy by the name of Eric K. Drexler. I think he was one of the founders of the Foresight Institute in Palo Alto, California. He wrote a book in 1988 called Engines of Creation, which was really the first book I ever read about nanotechnology. And he wrote a recent one called Radical Abundance. And man, I'm telling you, if you want to learn about sort of thinking about nanotechnology and a little bit about what's possible, and that's your interest in accessing the cannabis world, then those are some great books to start with.
I like how you have that information.
Yeah.
It's tucked away in my head.
So if you're interested in nanotechnology, there's actually 2 really good books out there. I'm personal friends with the guy, and he lives in California. He smokes plenty of hash.
He'll inspire you, to say the least, I'll tell you that much. Eric K. Drexler.
I can tell you Mark's going to be one of those guys that administers dabs.
A dabnister?
He goes, these are clinical trials, damn it. Take this serious.
Yeah.
He goes, okay, let's try it again. Now it's the Tangy. Let's get this right.
We're doing it through the Taurus off the silicone carbide nail with the sapphire insert. Write that down.
Now here's what's really cool is we could actually do NMR in the gas phase above the nail to find out what. Yes, absolutely. There's gas phase NMR.
We can do scientific unveilings of why they're. Because I'll tell you something, Mark. Lately, I've been doing this thing at home where I have 3 pipes set up. One has a titanium nail, one has a silicon carbide nail, and one has a quartz nail. And I put them at the same temperature, and I play with the temperatures a little bit. But I'm noticing that the heat sources greatly affect the destruction or evaporation or sublimation of the product. So certain tastes and flavors are altered and changed, and even mildly to the effects of the resin. And I always would love to get into the science of why that is. I mean, I know there's thermodynamics at play, and the way these different substances are holding and releasing heat is obviously going to affect how they evaporate a terpene on contact. But HNMR, proton NMR.
Here's the cool thing we could do. We could take an NMR tube and we could seal it up and actually put the nail material at the bottom of the tube, provided it's not paramagnetic and doesn't screw up the magnetic field. I think we should be able to, I mean, certainly quartz is fine. Titanium should be, all that shit should be fine. So we just put that material at the bottom of the tube, drop some concentrate in there, seal up the tube, and then heat it up to vaporization temperature and look at the NMR and see how it changes in behavior. I mean, it's just totally doable.
That's
totally doable. Yeah, we'll definitely do that someday. That's a good experiment.
I also want to take this moment to finally welcome Mike West into the room. True just came into the room, made it in from Amsterdam with Ramon and David. He's in Barcelona. We are at HQ, aren't we? Come on, are we at HQ? You guys are killing me with the screens and the sifts and everything. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
He's about to
yeah, guys, we're in HQ. We've got a bit of music on in the background, so we won't talk too much. But yeah, we're making some hash, and while there was a space, we thought we'd jump in, clean up some beautiful for David.
Please put my percentage aside for me, okay?
Don't worry, man. We're gonna have plenty for you, homie.
I'm never worried with you guys, that's for certain. And hey, I also want to welcome my buddy Elliot. He's under the name Shizen, which I think is like shit or something, but that's not what he is at all.
No. It's Shizen, and it's Japanese. Shiza is German for shit. Nah, it's different. It means nature.
Good. Oh, well, that's more like it. So does shit, but whatever. Anyway, Elliot was the gentleman, a good friend of mine for many years, who cut the Sizzler together for the Bubbleman's World, that little trailer that's like 3-4 minutes long. So Elliot cut that for me, and we're going to try and shop that out to some production agencies. So, yeah, welcome, Elliot. Took a while to welcome you, but welcome.
Oh,
yeah.
And it's just cool with the dry sifting going on live on Hash Church. That's a award-winning feed right there.
On that note, take off. I'm gonna say peace out.
Man, nothing would make me happier than being able to chill with those guys. You know what I mean? It's like a hash head. I wish I was there.
Why don't you come to Barcelona?
Yeah, why are you not in Barcelona?
Yeah, we're going in a week, Cuban. You can help me at the booth, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll be dope, huh? I mean, we could talk about it, man. Damn, that would be cool.
We could talk about it.
It's his anxiety about it.
Well, of course
he doesn't want to leave his ladies.
Who would? But you know what? Sometimes you got to leave the ladies.
Yeah, you know. But
right,
it's becoming part of my routine this year, bro. I'm gonna have
like imagine this in Cuban, where they're making hash right now. Cuban, I was making hash last year. I was doing the same thing with sift, and we even made some bubble hash too.
Yeah, man, that Ripper Seeds video was cool. I would love to make hash with all of you. Wouldn't that be like that would be a nice experience?
Well, I think it should be done in Jamaica. That'll be like, maybe we'll set that up for the original. I'm doing this thing called the Bubbleman's Tour, trying to create a really unique experience for people to come down in Jamaica and tap into all the good and avoid all the bad, and it be a win-win for everyone involved, particularly the people locally that would be involved in, you know, in sort of sharing the experiences. And so all of these things, from visiting the right fields that aren't sprayed with chemicals, to hanging out with the right farmers, to meeting Rastas that are, you know, you can do reasonings with in the hills, go to the Bobo camp and play drums with the Nyabingis, do all sorts of different fun little things. Maybe ride dirt bikes and drive up into the hills in Roaring River and swim in a natural pool filled with mineral waters, or raft rides with crocodiles. There's so many fun things in Jamaica, but I want it to be like dab friendly, herb friendly, hash friendly, permitted everywhere we go. There's no problems. It's not cheesy. You're not being like corralled around. And I'm thinking the first one would be really cool if I invited a lot of well-known hash makers, and it was kind of like more than just a Bubbleman thing, but it was like a kind of like...
What if the tour ended in a hash, a Legends of Hash?
It could end in a Legends of Hash. We could all go around, find all fields, mark plants for ourselves, strip these plants down, and go and just like...
The true legend could pull his own plant down and make the resin on the island.
Yeah, well, the true legend can find the best resin, recognize it before he's extracted it.
That's the
that's the one with the best connects. Will probably end up with the best resin in Jamaica. You know what I mean? But that sounds dope. I would love to be part of that.
Source fields.
We could source fields.
We could source fields so it's even competition.
I always thought grower cups would be neat if all the growers brought their material in raw form, and then you had like a master sifter basically sift out everyone's resin to 99.9% heads, and then it was like, all right, well let's see what we've unveiled here, you know. Back to the hash making.
Well,
that's the best way to get like the true representation of the resin, right? Put it on an even field.
Stepping, supposed to judge that stuff.
Yeah, we're supposed to judge stepping high. That's right, but it's only what time? 1:28.
1:20.
So that's
we
okay.
told him we were going to be there at
Bobby.
7 a.m.
No, but then he told me that was all canceled.
That was a joke.
Yeah. No, last night he was telling me that part they lost. I'll call Bobby Dredd right now. We're going to call Bobby, one of the organizers for the Stepping High Festival, as we're supposed to go down there today and do some judging. But you guys continue to talk. I'm going to mute my mic while I'm calling Bobby.
So, Mark, if we were talking about, getting cannabinoids into that blood-brain barrier and trying to hybridize it with all of Tony's research into the inactive forms traveling through the sublingual route, I make a sublingual product, but it's always been for the active form, which is, you could say, a runnier product, which is borderlining on, needs to just be blended down to something to administer, where, you could say nobody considers eating shatter as a way to inactively absorb it, because, like you said, there may be issues with it actually crossing the blood-brain barrier. But I know I thought that logic and fed the wrong person inactive shatter, and I don't know if it is a side effect of the limonene process, but 18 hours later they were as high as a kite. So there was a gross delay compared to it being the standard 1 hour effect or 2 hour effect, or my sublingual product, which tries to kick in within 20 minutes, so that I know I'm actually going through the glands and the gums because they're getting an actual head effect. If I could essentially dissolve inactive hard cannabis, like hash, in these plant sterols that I'm looking at, is there a chance that a terpene that also helps pass that blood-brain barrier could get inactive cannabinoids through, or would it have to only be in that active format? In my limited ability to produce, you could say, a program for somebody.
Okay, so the cannabinoids themselves and the extract themselves are not water soluble. So if you're making some kind of complex with the sterol, it must be making something like what's called a liposome. And a liposome is basically a solubilized fat molecule that can be made compatible with a water-based system. And again, I think I referred to this before. Milk is probably the most relevant sort of metaphor, right? Milk is fat that's emulsified, if you will, in milk, and you can infinitely dilute milk and not it oil out, right? Because the glycoprotein or whatever is in milk that's basically helping it keeping soluble, just like in your formulation, those can enable membrane permeability. And it's likely that, again, with liposomes that can be stored in fat, there could be a delayed onset of activity, which I think is what you're trying to describe. Is that what you mean?
Well, I haven't tried plant sterol esters before. I've only ever said, hey, this won't get you high, eat this dab and see if you could extract basically beneficial cannabinoids without the psychotropic effects. So it didn't make the person high, but then the next day when my wife was at work, she was high as a kite. So then I was like, oh no, either maybe it decarboxylated in your hot tummy. I'm not sure. Oh, I'm so sorry. But it either gave to the question of, okay, well, it's because it was 5% decarboxylated that you got that percent out and got high as a kite. But really it was, I then tried to give the person more than I would if I thought it was active. So, oh, this is a gram of shatter, eat it, it's inactive. You should be able to absorb the most cannabinoids without getting high. I never considered it for cancer until looking at what Tony was doing. But Tony has a proprietary blend, which could be getting it past that barrier that I don't have. That's kind of why I'm thumbing through, well, he's got something with this inactive, but if I can't recreate something similar, I'm stuck with the one-dimensional program of active THC as much as you can get, well, pretty much as much as you can source, but it's not, you could say, the cutting edge of what I think my brain could offer a person who's an 11-year-old child with tumors. I'm like, 70 weeks of chemotherapy is beyond my imagination.
So, like I said to you before, you still feel the medicine. You just don't feel the psychotropic effect of THC. So when you're talking with children, you're talking with parents, that's why Prana was created, to take the boogeyman out of the picture and still deliver medicine. So, you know, that's, you know, it's like there's also not enough research to tell you between inactives and non, because it's never been studied. So that's why that's part of the patent process of what's going on here. So that's why I'm trying to study that, so we could find out if this whole time you're studying the wrong thing.
Yeah, but so if you're going to observe a clinical effects and you're going to see differences between patients in a statistically relevant, a robust enough group where you're going to actually measure what's typically referred to as dose response, where again you're going to typically see at higher doses a larger clinical observation, if you will, whether it's being high or being sedated, or you know, if it's a patient that has wasting, if they've got their appetite back, any relief from any other symptoms from the variety of diseases that cannabis can be treated for. It's obviously like one of those things that you're absolutely right, Tony. It needs to be studied. And what we now know, again, is that the molecular mechanisms that underpin the way that the ECS works in the body is that there's real reason to believe that, again, pro-apoptotic and anti-angiogenic effect, these things can be effective in cancer. My son's karate instructor, 3 years younger than me, passed away last year. The guy used to run 4 miles a day, was a picture of health, never used cannabis once during his life. And his wife came to me in his final stages of life, starting to inquire about it, and I'm convinced today, had the guy been a lifelong cannabis user, he'd be here today, because of his cannabinoid level had been established all throughout his cannabis use to basically ward off any, you know, blastoglioma that could take effect in his brain. So it's preventative. All cannabis use is medical. It's preventative in an antioxidative way.
And so I wonder what way that these vaccines that they're hitting us up with at birth are affecting our endocannabinoid system.
That's a can of worms.
I mean, I hate to open a can of worms, but this is Hash Church. You know, it just makes me wonder. I've never really thought
that pesticide use. I mean, Mark, there's so many things. I mean, one of the reasons why our bodies, I think, Tony, we've discussed this before, one of the reasons why our body needs phytocannabinoid supplementation, if you will, is because we live in a much more polluted, stressful world today, and our bodies just can't keep up with its endocannabinoids to basically maintain homeostasis in the body. And I think there's a lot of physicians who do believe that, again, the pharmaceutical model of taking one particular drug that's going to inhibit one particular enzyme to back up one disease state is completely the wrong way, and the homeostasis and the way that ECS maintains homeostasis is going to upend traditional medicine the way it's practiced today.
Yeah, there's also one thing on the inactive and the active version. Why do you have both? The reason why I have both is sometimes when someone is a cannabis user and they've got a serious condition and they're on a certain budget, that's why the active version I usually go to, because they're used to having that feeling. And so, number one, it would be more in a pain management. If someone was having trouble eating, sleeping, dealing with pain, those types of things is on the active program. And so it allows patients to do that both ways. But in another version, when we're talking about why would you have inactive, it's because certain patients also have side effects and damages to GABA receptors and different things that pharmaceuticals has caused them. So they're highly sensitive to THC. And so when I was talking about that earlier, saying, you know, there could be a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old that's smoking a gram a day in a very small percentage that could cause issues. But with adults that have already been through pharmaceuticals and different kinds of benzos and drugs, they're super, super, super highly sensitive to the active versions of THC. There's adults that are sensitive to that when they're going through chemo. Some patients may say, "Well, I feel too loopy." Well, you take out the activated portion, they still feel the medicine. You'll still feel 50 milligrams of an inactive P2 for sure, 100%. It's just utilizing the active versions more at night because it'll be a more sedated feeling. And so I still believe that there's the same medicinal impact, whether they're inactive or active or a combination of both. And that's what I meant, Mark, when I said that we're going to be studying that soon to prove, you know, so we're going to prove that side by side. So when I study the toxicity values in a rodent study of a P2, it's going to be studied P2 active and P2 inactive. And then we'll be able to...
You guys muted out again.
Yeah, we muted out because we just found out we're 2 hours past our checkout time, but we're still going to go for 20 more minutes. It's cool.
So yeah, so that's like studying this thing. Studying this is in its inactive and also active form. And if you want to study that on inflammation or pain, or you wanted to study on neuropathy or epilepsy or what that does in a cancer molecule, we could study that in rodent, we could study it in virus, we could study it at university levels a lot better. Just having the freedom to be able to go between departments as well.
Mm-hmm. True that.
I think Mark needs to come out here.
Mark?
Yeah.
I think so too. It'd be fun to have him rocking that.
Let's go.
What
we're waiting for. Let's go. I'll crawl to get to Jamaica.
Wow.
Damn, that's going to be a rough travel. Crawl on the bottom of the plane floor, not on the bottom of the
I have
seat.
to introduce you to, we have a doctor and a scientist, a PhD scientist that came on board that we haven't announced just yet, but they're good people. You're going to really like them. But,
and there's another person in our group that wants to speak with you. If you could send me an email with your email, I'm at Bubbleman at bubblebag.com.
Sure, I'll hit you up.
He has some questions for you.
But this is this speaks to the point that Todd was bringing up before. I mean, look at this. We're bringing you know, PhD scientists and medical doctors and people who are actually legitimate scientific professionals to really try to get to the bottom of all what we're saying here, which is easily explored scientifically and has tremendous value for human society going forward.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not, you know, it's a bigger picture than maybe sometimes what the outside world sees. They think it's like a money situation, and it's never really been about that. It's been about pushing the boundaries, exploring it, and sometimes the first people to do that, they aren't the most successful, but it's opening that door. And for us, you know, this one of the guys that we're bringing on, he did the he was at Johns Hopkins and UCLA, and he worked on the fruit fly, the final way of collecting the data and really identifying the DNA of a fruit fly. And so, like you said, putting different people on a team and saying, okay, this is what we want to find out from A to Z. You know, that takes tremendous amount of not just skills, but it also, those individuals that are coming forward now are also the pioneers. So it was once us, you know, the growers and the hash makers and the breeders. Now there's individual scientists that, you know, in their career or risk different things. Once they turn into this industry, there's really no turning back. You know, especially with, you know, getting a CFO or a banker or a lawyer, anyone that I've ever talked to, it's like talking to them like we've got like anthrax all over our body. You know, it's like, hey, I need a lawyer, and they're just like, well, you know, my career's over if I take you on. It's like, your career's over. Oh my goodness. Maybe your career just started.
Just began. It's all, you know, just began.
So
it's true.
It's been that whole situation, and lo and behold, we end up in Jamaica. I wish we could have done more in Colorado, but there's different types of barriers that are put up. So ultimately, this is going to be, you know, a big movement, not just for the Rastafarian community and the people that deserve it and people that want to partake in smoking cannabis freely, which we can do now. But
yeah, that was amazing to see people walking around in Negril with buds, big bouquets, and cops just sitting on the. I was kind of like, this is the different. Because I'll tell you, man, that was never like that here before. It was quite something to see. Yesterday.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
We'll get some photos today when we stop by there. We'll call it here in about 10-15 minutes. But
we gotta get going.
It's been a great hash church as always. Yeah, you know, we just like super busy. We're driving to Spanish Town, Kingston tonight, if you can imagine. We have a hotel booked in Kingston, and we'll see if we make it.
What's up, Casey?
Call Kid Aside.
Nice to see you, bro.
Glad I finally got on here for a little while, man, and got to see you. Had some problems with my computer, but yeah, I'm glad to be on. And next week I'll be on properly. Got a bit more to contribute. Missing the last couple of weeks.
Word. Hey, you guys sift over there with some style, huh? You got the beats going on and everything.
Yeah, we're in a social club, cannabis social club in Barcelona, cleaning something up for the owner, somewhere called HQ. So yeah. We've got 40 grams of farmer grade from the trim bin, and Ramon's working some magic on that now. It's a lot of sativas, so it's a real interesting chart profile.
Nice. And trim bin material is always good, bro, because if you got 40 grams, you can expect to get a good like 25 out of that at least, right?
Yeah, bro, I'll be honest with you, what Ramon won the Hash Legends with was my harvest for the high times, 74 plants that I trimmed over a trim bin, and he cleaned that up, and that's what he won with. So yeah, trim bin magic, trust me, it's worth the effort to do everything over screens and save every last drop.
And you know what, bro? When you the trim bin, the special thing about it is that all those heads are the ones that fall off with the scissor, right? You can break up material over. Yeah, you can break the material over the trim bin like force, and it doesn't come out the same. It's that passive trike that falls through the screen, bro. Yeah, that stuff's good. Good quality right there for sure.
I'll be honest, I want to start drying over screens soon, and that way every last tripe, when it's knocked and cut down and moved, the same. So soon I'm going to be in a situation where not a single trichome is lost from harvest to farming of the trichome. So yeah, screens everywhere. That's what I say. I have a house full of screens. I'll be walking among screens constantly.
Yeah. Hey man, somebody had purchased a screen set and they were gonna throw it away because they were moving. I'm like, hey, what? I'll trade you some hash for that, even if I don't use it, man. Screens. I love screens.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You can never have too many. Sick parties.
Yeah, man. Hey, bless all of you, bro. I hope you guys make some killer sift out there tonight, man. Is it the daytime or is it nighttime over there? It's daytime here.
It's like almost 8 o'clock. Almost 8 o'clock in the evening. So yeah, hash church is always the evening.
Yeah, man. Much love to you, bro.
Same to you, bro. Can't wait till we finally get to smoke some of your soup.
Yeah, I want to go over there, man. Hey, you know what? I was born in Spain, actually. I'm the Cuban grower, but that's because my family left from Cuba to Spain and then from Spain to the U.S., you know? So I have a Spanish passport. It wouldn't be too complicated to fly out there.
Yeah, man. Maybe August. Some friends of mine are putting on an event in Barcelona. So I'll keep you informed on that one, man. Maybe we'll get you out for that. It's going to be very special.
I would love to, bro. It would be like, it'll make my year to chill with you guys. Hell yeah. Well,
awesome.
I guess it's bong time, right? Since we're dipping at 12. Like 10 minutes.
Yeah, man. Let me grab some rig. Yep. Let me get one now.
Yeah, I'm about to take a fat rib of this dry.
This is a Nicole dry sift, but this is after it's been beaten up about 5 or 6 times, and we beat it up even more, and we still get something that's like 70% melt. It's ridiculous, this strain, bro. Honestly, the Nicole strain, insane. I'm going to be working with it soon. I've been lucky enough to be gifted the clone. And yeah, I'm going to be doing some wild hybrids with that, so we'll be getting that out to you so you can play with some Nicole hybrids. Because honestly, it's the premier hash strain as far as I'm concerned. Just stunning, just like the Bob.
Yeah. Hey, big up to Marimberos, man, because I know that Gato's a big hash lover, and hash lovers, man, when they pheno select, you know they're looking for the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So I know that boy strain for sure dumps. Hell yeah. I've always wanted to try that Nicole, man. My bad, bro.
I can't wait for you to try it. We've got this one little container. It smells insane. It's literally like aromatherapy. It's just hardened up in there so much, you just don't want to come out, but man, I wish you could smell it. I wish you could.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Terps are kind of like aromatherapy, man. There are terps that just smelling it can make you salivate. You know what I'm
Honestly,
saying?
it does. Honestly. It's one of those ones that you pass it to someone and they just keep doing the reintroduction, where they keep going like that. And they want to smell it again and again and again.
Hell yeah.
It's so funny, Tony and Mark are late.
All right, guys.
Been awesome. So glad I jumped on again.
I wish they had men's blown out of it.
Yo, you know, we were talking about Legends of Hash and stuff. So I mess around with my lady sometimes because my wife makes a lot of my dry sift. Especially if I'm gardening, you know, I'll keef it for her and I'll like prepare the keef so it's pretty good quality and I'll let her do her thing and she makes some killer 99, you know what I'm saying? My homeboy, Pure Headies, his lady makes some killer 99 too, so I'm starting to think like every good hash maker, their lady for sure makes hash. I know, you know what I mean? If they like to smoke it, they're into it. It would be cool to see like a ladies cup. Can you imagine that? Like having the wives make some hash and stuff and compete and see whose lady whips it up better.
There was 2 entries in the Legends this year for ladies. So
yeah.
There was already 2, so there's a lot of lady hash makers.
Alright, I'm just
there is. And you know what? No. For all women, and I tell my lady that too, sometimes, man, their hash can come out better because they put a lot of like meticulous care into the hash and they pay a lot of attention to the detail.
Gentle touch.
All right, guys, we're calling it a day here at Hash Church. You guys can stay in here, continue to talk and hang out, but we're walking back to our place to check out. Thanks, everyone. Once again, episode 24, Hash Church, lots of good knowledge, live from Negril, Jamaica.
Peace, bro.
See you next time from Canada, and after Canada, we will be all in Barcelona. So, thanks for coming, guys. Talk soon.